All right, we should be live. What's going on, Super Comic Books fam? Welcome to another Tuesday stream. We got our boy Luigi, Mr. Stokes. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm really excited to see your campaign doing really well. That has been I've been refreshing it. It distracts me from my own campaign, which is a relief.
I mean, you're probably hurting my analytics by refreshing my page all the time. But no,
Good.
I think we're doing pretty well so far. So I appreciate anyone that's watching that's back. And if you haven't yet, definitely to do that. But we'll get to that in a second. We have two awesome guests, Mr. Travis Gibb. How are you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
I'm living life, man. You know, it's another day on Dirt Rock. And Mr. Pat Shand, how are you doing, buddy?
I am doing excellently. How are you doing?
Same old, yo. You know, we're doing well. Actually, we're doing really well. Campaign is sort of taking off. So
I saw. Congratulations! I'm going to say right now, this is going to be the best Chris Moses campaign. It is. Who knows where it can go? Who knows where it can go from here? You know.
Not saying much though, Pat. If you think about it's relative.
Hey, I mean, we'll see. We'll see where everything goes. I think there's good things in the future. But before we get to Control Z, I think we have a little bit of a surprise for everyone watching. A little thing from Stokes, a little trailer action.
Good boy.
So, Mr. Stokes, that was your trailer.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What do you have to say about Intrusive Thoughts?
It's a banger, man. Check it out.
Yeah, I mean, it is a banger. It is gas. You have a copy anywhere for us to see, man?
You want me to reach into the closet? You want me to reach into the deep freezer?
You know, definitely. While we play my trailer for Control Z, you should definitely grab one and show the people.
We'll run to my closet. All right, bet. Play it.
There we go, everyone. That's Control Z. Make sure you back today. We have 28 days to go. Let's share the campaign real quick.
Yeah.
And we're definitely making moves, everybody. So make sure to head over to Kickstarter, Control Z number 1 and 2. Grab your copy today.
Yeah, that's looking really good, and I'm hoping it carries over to that 5-figure mark because that's what we're looking for.
I'm hoping so. But before or after, you know, having our little promo time, Stokes, we have a bunch of important things to discuss.
Yes, sir.
Actually,
Here's a comment as well, real quick.
That's a beautiful comic. I will raise you a comic.
Oh, look at us.
So make sure to head over Control Z numbers 1 and 2, and then Intrusive Thoughts. Make sure to hit the pre-launch. But Mr. Stokes,
Yes, sir.
you posted a thread recently
2 of them.
to Twitter
Yeah.
asking what's better, arrogance or being fake humble.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have to say to the people about that?
This was actually prompted by I think Pat, you kind of coined the phrase fake. What do you say? Fake humble, fake humility.
I say fake humble. Yeah.
Fake humble. What does that mean to you? Because like I said, I think I picked up the term from you.
Fake humble means to me when you market yourself in a way where you are elevating everything in the comic except yourself as a way to try to market the entire product. You are sort of downplaying your role and only talking about how lucky you are to have the collaborators. And I see writers do this all the time. I never see artists do it. It's always writers. It's always writers who are saying things, and it's in a joking manner, but it's this air of humility where they go, I'm so lucky to have this beautiful art by so and so, amazing colors by them, letters by the great, et cetera, et cetera. And if you can stomach it, my writing. And it's meant to be this sort of like self-deprecating humor, but just the overuse of it, I feel, is really, it's negative marketing. It doesn't sell a book well. It kind of does a disservice to the actual art team because you're big upping them, yes, but you're also doing a disservice to the product by saying that your writing isn't up to par. Now, obviously, they're not being honest. It's not real. It's like half a joke and half a marketing strategy, but it's just so pervasive that I began to find it very annoying. So I always prefer someone brazen. And I will say, I didn't comment on the thread because I do wish that you use the word brazen instead of arrogance, because when I hear arrogant, I think of like this like sort of like bitch ass Draco Malfoy like fake ego as opposed to like a brazen actual sense of self-worth. The arrogance to me sort of almost has like the fake built into it. So I do wish it was brazen versus fake humble because that's how I see it in my head. But with arrogance, you also gave more of a hard pick because fake humble has fake in it. That's a negative element. So if you put brazen, which is generally positive, versus fake humble, it's positive versus negative. Mm-hmm. So you did sort of add a negative element to with arrogance, you know. So it makes it a harder choice and a more interesting conversation, probably.
Yeah, I mean that's more or less. I think the fake humble thing. I would just echo what you said. You know, and there are people that are humble. Like it's subjective.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I think it's great for people to be, you know, like soft spoken or what have you. I think the problem is when you kind of want to project those things on other people. You know, we can all market ourselves how we want. That's part of being creative, and that's part of putting your own stamp on something. Is how you choose to market it. So projecting that on other people, or when you get a person in the space who's not fake humble, I think there's an expectation that's what should be done, and I don't think that's fair to impose on other people.
Yeah, definitely. I also think it's just interesting that people would want to be fake anything, you know, but I think it does say a lot about the indie community that's like a very prevalent answer. Though I think that people that are just like, some people agreed with arrogance and maybe didn't comment that as well. So I think it also showed some division between older and newer creators. Travis, I don't know how you felt about this thread. Did you come across it on Twitter?
I ignored that shit because that was going to get me in trouble. So I ignored that fast.
well, here we are.
Though, you know? What you think? You have the nuance to
have the nuance. Nah, it is what it is. I don't think everybody who's humble is necessarily fake, or people who push their creative teams over them. I think a lot of people are just like happy that someone wants to work with them. But once you got a couple of books behind you, I'm with Pat. Like it's a fake humble. But I see a lot of first time creators talk about their team because of lack of confidence in themselves. I don't think that they're being fake. I just think they don't know who they are yet or what voice they have to say versus that. And I will take that over like, I'm the best thing ever. I'm the whatever. And I was like, but who's read your stuff? You got 28 backers? What are you talking about? Like, calm down.
Like somebody with 28 backers crying right
now. I don't. If someone has 28 backers, that was not directed at you, or maybe it was. I don't know.
Well, they got to keep watching the show. We're gonna help them get those backers up. But yeah, like, and I think part of the problem with these conversations is subjective. Like what I consider arrogant it's very rare that I look at somebody, and probably speaks to me as a person, but it's very rare I look at somebody and think they're arrogant. Like it's not a thought. It's the word doesn't even come into my head. You know what I'm saying? Um, and so like I think it's subjective because I don't, like I said, I don't think everybody who's being humble or being humble is fake humble. Like it's just this kind of air of disingenuousness. And like I said, if you want to be fake humble in your, you could be whatever you want in your bubble. You know what I'm saying? Like you can gladly like go ahead, but arrogance can be anything. People might call Pat. They could call any of us on this panel arrogant. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of where I think that's why I use that word, because I wanted to make it an either or type of thing. And I wanted it to be like, yeah, it's something you have to think about. Chris, I don't really want to show this thread. I showed you the second thread because this has people's names and stuff like that. So
am I doxing people?
No, you're not doxing them, but that's not about the individuals in the thread. But if you look, so everybody kept saying, I see my brother Nas being genuinely humble. They kept adding extra they kept adding like a third option and stuff like that. And I was like, I hate that. I truthfully, like, you don't have to engage with the post. You know, like, I'm not begging you to engage with the post. You can scroll right past it. If you think it's an unfair leading question, just scroll past it. Chris, this is the opposite of what I wanted.
All right. Did you want to go to this one?
So this one, I made this, I tweaked it. I said arrogant and honest versus fake humble. And it talks to kind of what Pat was saying, how one has a positive connotation versus a negative connotation. But and I turned the comments off because I was sick of these like half answers. And that's so I hate half answers. I hate people, you know what I'm saying? Like just answer the question or don't answer the question. But I said, if you feel this post is too binary and lacks nuance, leave a comment. Oh, wait. And which like I was laughing. I sent that shit and I laughed my ass off as I went to bed. But I think what's interesting is now that you add the anonymity and the honest part, which I think it should be implied. It's interesting that you say arrogant. It comes out as fake because I guess like it's subjective.
Yeah, I don't see those connected at all. I don't see arrogance and honesty connected. Like someone who's arrogant does not mean they're honest in any way, shape, or form. Like in my opinion.
Well, right. But here's what I'll say: in the community, can honesty be construed as arrogant? Like, can it be perceived as arrogant?
I'd say it could be misconstrued as arrogant because I feel like, you know, we're in this conversation where, you know, in the past, when someone said something and were misinterpreted, they could come back and say, oh, no, what I actually meant was this. In the era of social media, now it's, oh, no, the intent doesn't matter. It's the impact. And that to me is bullshit. So, yeah, I think that we have to get back to where things can be misinterpreted. And I think that, I mean, you mentioned before that anyone on this panel could be misconstrued as arrogant. I agree. I would consider myself brazen because I don't think that I have any bitch in me, you know? And I think that arrogance has an implication of a little bitch in you, you know?
Yeah,
so that's you adding the humble there, I think sort of brings it closer to like I guess if I had to say a recipe for brazen, it would be arrogant and honest, you know, because the honest kind of balances out the what I perceive as the negative implication of arrogant, you know?
Yeah. So that's what I really meant. And to me, like I said, when you say fake humble, it's funny because my mind immediately goes to like honest and then arrogant, because those are the two. If you think about it, those are the two. Man, it's been a while. Anonyms. I'm so tired. Those are the two anonyms to the word that we were using. But there are people that were saying fake humble was better in the other thread, and I'm just like, it kind of, like I felt like people were telling on themselves a little bit, because it's like y'all prefer people. I'm always on people to be genuine, you know, because if you're an asshole, then at least I know you're an asshole. Yeah. Like I'm always picking genuinity, so I know where we stand. So I think a lot of people were, I think a lot of people were telling themselves. Some people were saying it's better because you're easier to work with, which makes sense. But yeah, I mean, I would never answer fake anything. That would never be an answer that I would prefer for just about anything.
Yeah,
it's definitely an interesting choice, but I think I can understand why, right? Like you're trying to think of everyone's trying to think of their career also, you know, and like how we're perceived by others. And indie comics is big, but it's also like a small community. And people did make good points about how, you know, it is easier to work with humble people than it is to work with arrogant people. But yeah, I mean, I'd hope that we'd all want to be more honest.
I don't even know if that's true though. Truthfully,
you don't think
like
so?
it's all about balance. But if you have somebody who's like overly humble, like somebody that doesn't, what if you need somebody to take lead on something? What if you need somebody? It depends on the roles. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm picking a promoter, I want somebody that's arrogant over humble, like for sure. You know what I'm saying? Like there's certain situations. You know, how many uber successful people the first thing we say about them is they're humble. So again, it's subjective. It's we all thinking of a different word when we hear these two words. But personally, I want my quarterback to be arrogant. I want my quarterback to be an asshole. You know what I'm saying? I want my pastor to be a humble. You know, like it just depends on the leadership role.
See, I like my pastor. My pastor is always arrogant, and I like that about him. But,
there you go.
But I think you're misunderstanding. Some humble, because I've worked with a few humble people. Like I think my letterer is humble, but he'll share things like nobody's business. Like he'll share it out. He's not going to do the video and get up there and get in your face and like hard sell, but he's hustling every day because he's just happy to be on the team. You know what I'm saying? So I think there is, I think saying that humble is not necessarily a great promoter, which is not exactly what you said, but implying that, exactly I don't think that that's true at all, you know?
That's not what I said. I said if I'm choosing a promoter, I'm picking arrogance over humble. But that's very specific to what I would want.
Well, and I think that this post, I think Pat and I definitely agree. If you didn't use the word arrogant, it would have been a completely different answer. It's no one wants to consider yourself arrogant because that has a negative connotation.
Should have a negative connotation to it.
Yeah, I mean, well,
I would ask.
I mean, it's developed it because it's, you know, it's if you hear arrogant or brazen, those are different concepts. You know, like brazen to me, I feel like doesn't have the. I guess what I hear in arrogant, I hear a mixture of pride in self with a disrespect for others. Whereas in brazen, I see pride in self above anything else, but I don't see that built-in disrespect for others. Like I would call myself brazen. I would call you brazen. I wouldn't call us arrogant. You know, I don't feel what I mean. I also put on, you know, I put out a certain vibe. Like I try to market success when I post. I don't see it as arrogant. I see it as brazen and prideful in my work for sure. I see it as bold, but yeah, like there's just like a sort of like, you know, like Saiyan Saga Vegeta type arrogant, like the kind of like you haven't had that pride tested yet is what I hear with arrogant, you know.
I think people would certainly describe me as arrogant. I think, like I said, people would describe it. It would describe either of us. And the word and I think the word, for instance, the word that gets thrown around a lot is ego, right? That's the thing. And that's kind of really what I meant to say, because to me, ego doesn't have a negative or positive connotation to it. But
I agree with that. Yes, I agree.
For a lot of people, it does. But you're going to have a hard time telling me that you believe that you're going to be a great creator, or that you have something to offer a space with 100 plus, maybe 1,000 plus people in it, in a community, or excuse me, as a field is competitive is comics, and that's a whole other thing that we're competitive. But you have the hard time telling me you think you're going to be great at that, and you're not. You don't have an ego. There's no way. Like, because you would quit. Like, it's so hard to make. It's so hard to make comics. It's like it's so expensive. It's so hard. So time consuming. What's the motivation to do something like that and think you're going to do it at the high level? We have hobbyists, obviously, you know, shouts out to the hobbyists, but we're not really talking about them at that point. So, like, to me, having an ego is like a foregone conclusion. That you would have one to be in this field and a lot of other fields.
See, you're a sports fan, so let me use a sports analogy for you. Okay? Let's talk about ego. Why the New England Patriots, the reason why they won for so long, because Tom Brady, I don't consider him arrogant in any way, shape, or form. though he's the best quarterback of all time, Tom effing Brady. But Belichick, every year after they win a championship, humbles those guys down to like, stop that you could be traded. He shows you that this is the case. And it's been documented. It's a book called Ego is the Enemy. Highly recommend it for everybody's reading. It's because you're only as good as your last thing. Because we've seen so many teams who've won the Super Bowl and then can't even come close the next year, even though they have the same build, the same mark. It's because they weren't willing. They were living off their success, and that's where arrogant or ego can come off. Is all right. I'm so successful this, and that can crash really fast. And I know like people who've been doing this for a while, like you have dips and valleys. Like some of your stuff is going, and then it dips down. It's that consistent and be able to shut that down. And I'm only as good as my last book, you know.
I would retort. It's just a metaphor. But I also think that like playing deep into the postseason can also contribute to the teams not getting back, like the case of the Rams. Not to get too deep into the metaphor. I'd also say that you could say Belichick chased away Brady, talking about arrogance, and then every single coach that comes out from the Patriots coaching tree is an arrogant asshole, except Brian Flores, who got fired, or I'm not getting into that. So even in that example you use, there's examples, and I could also point to professional athletes like MJ, Kobe, Aaron Rodgers, etc. You know that these guys, like I said, they have an ego. Like it's finding a balance, right? Too much ego, or you can have too little ego. We know people that don't believe themselves in any comic Twitter, and it's sad. It breaks my heart because you should feel confident in yourself. You know, if you make a comic, you do something that most people could not do. If you sit there and make a comic book, like a 24 to 28 page, even a design, like you're doing something special. So we can always have a conversation about how much, like what's too much, what kind of like what's too far, you know, but also like we can look at people that are like just don't believe themselves and they could use some more ego. Like, right. So it's a balancing. So I don't think it should have a negative connotation, like less so than arrogant.
For sure.
I agree there. I think that a lot of people use the term ego and what they mean is overinflated ego. And that to me is wrong. You know, I think that it's just self-aware to think I'm a creator, right? I sell comics, and those comics are made out of my thoughts. I am selling my thoughts to people. I am making a living off of things that I think in my head. You have to have an ego to sell your thoughts. That's so obvious, right? However, having an overinflated ego is when your sense of self is not in balance with the reality of your life. Now, I see that a lot on social media, right? I see people being sometimes dismissive of institutions and books and industries that they don't really understand, and they speak from a level as if they know everything but haven't proven themselves. I've seen that recently on Facebook. There are some creators who are so direct market minded that they completely dismiss crowdfunding as if it is not the second coming of Image Comics. They don't have an understanding, and yet they dismiss. That, to me, is overinflated ego. However, I do agree, too, that too little ego can be negative, and that just adding the connotation of overinflated when you mean ego is not realistic. And I also like a contrarian, right? I always have. I like when the industry is a certain way and there are disruptors, because I like endless change. I like when things are interesting and dynamic. So we are in a time where, you know, it's looked at as negative to be a bit boastful, to be a bit brazen. Whereas I didn't grow up reading comics. I grew up listening to hip hop music, where it is normal. If you are a creator, you think that you're number one. That's normal, healthy. In comics, the amount of people who wouldn't put themselves in their top 20 who would deserve to be there. I've had the conversations. It's odd to me. Like, to me, you should be your biggest fan, and that's the content that I grew up enjoying was by people who their content was about how they were the best at making that content. But in comics, if you would do that, you'd be a pariah, and I don't think that's right. So I do like when someone kind of comes in, and even when someone goes a bit too far and just kind of disrupts the scale a little bit and tilts things in an interesting direction. That to me, that's interesting. That's cool.
So the thing that I think is missing, the nuance here, is we're talking about like the greatest when we're talking about arrogance or fake humble, and I think we have to just make sure that we're keeping in mind like the skill level of that's a beautiful cup, Shan.
I'm a cute guy, dude. Look at this.
Adorable.
What a sweetheart.
But yeah, so we need to think of like the skill level of like the people that we're talking about, right? Because like if you're arrogant, but the thing that you're making sucks, then like you're way more insufferable than an arrogant person that's like Michael Jordan or something like that.
Yes, facts, yes.
Right. So like it's interesting to put into the context of people not being they're big enough fans, right? Or like having enough pride in themselves, and they switch to fake humble because they aren't prideful and they aren't boastful and they aren't like, they don't have a really strong sense of self, I guess, or in their work. And even though they're really good. And then there's some people that are, that are really bad and they think they're amazing. Right. So it's just an interesting wrinkle to keep in mind when we're talking about these things, like, because at some level being arrogant is okay if you're good enough to back it up. Right. And like being fake humble, if you're not very good, is definitely better than being arrogant, because like if you suck, and you're like really like, damn, I'm that good, like people are gonna look at you a little bit different. If you're like, you're like, damn, I'm still learning, blah blah blah, even if you may believe differently, right? So it's just something that I think should be kept in mind.
The thing is, real quick, is that Michael Jordan wasn't always Michael Jordan. Like, if you watch a documentary, it was a specific shot that he hit in the championship, like in the college, where he was like, now I went from Michael to MJ. It's like it's like Pat said, you know what I'm saying? It's that a lot of people, and the thing, like you said, different people like different things, like, and so the arrogance is gonna be a turnoff for some people, and it's gonna like some people. But I personally feel as if, I think it's kind of whack to be like, I'm gonna be a super. If we know a creator who's a super nice guy and then they win, like they win an award, they get a 100K campaign, they're like turned to an asshole. Like that person is disingenuous.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like that's a whole. I think there's even more nuance than the one you provided.
Yeah, sure. And I'll add this too. There's a factor that you can't get around, and it's not just, it is the skill level, but there's something that's hard to even talk about. It's likability. You can be likable and brazen, likable and humble. I was just talking about how fake humble annoys me. Who's a real humble is my guy Charlie Stickney. Charlie Stickney is an actual humble, good guy who's cool to listen to, cool to talk to, real humble. And then there are guys who I look at and they're arrogant, and it seems fake arrogant to me because they're not likable, and there are even guys in between who are neither of those qualities, who, I'll be in a stream with and they'll pop in and they'll start talking. And I'm like, Jesus, fuck, shut up, dude. And I just can't wait till they're done talking. But we don't talk about that because you can't get around your likability. You can't become a different person, but that does dramatically influence how people see you, how digestible you are as a person, how cool you are to listen to. There are probably some people that I grade on so hard that hate when I talk, who hate my shit, who think I'm probably so much more arrogant than I feel that I am. And that's just how different personalities hit you, and that's the kind of like, that's the it factor that you can't really define.
Definitely. I definitely want to take a second to thank everyone that's stopped in so far. Make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. We do streams every Tuesday. And thanks to our guests, Pat, Shan, and Travis Gibb, for coming on and helping and blessing us with some W content, because I think we're having a really awesome conversation.
Real quick, Travis, you unmuted. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, there is something I want to say on that. If we're switching topics, I have one more thing I want to say before we switch topics. I think the hardest thing about that whole conversation, and like the real, if I'm going to be real, and Pat, and I think Stokes, you said you've done a decent amount of cons, right? You did a lot of decent cons last year. When you're walking down that artist alley and someone's trying to sell you, and you see that they did not put the amount of effort in that you did, right? And they have the arrogance like they did the shit, right? I'm like, dude, your thing is stapled. It's colored with your kid colored it. You clearly only have 5 copies versus what I get a professional. I'm not saying that your book is bad or anything. I'm just saying the professional level of it and the quality. I think that that's where it gets really tough, and especially tough for me when someone wants me to like grade their work. And I'm like, you haven't put in the effort to get it to the point of it's ready for stuff. And even worse, Kickstarter, the platform that all of us are on, there's no guidelines for that, right? Anybody can come on. Anybody who wants to be a hobbyist, who just wants to make a comic, doesn't have to be the greatest thing ever. I'm not saying, and the platform supports all, and I that's what I love about the platform. It's an even playing field for all that. But I think that comes into play too when you've got that, know exactly what you, not just your money value and all that, about what you're producing. Like, am I ready for the big leagues? Because this is not ready. And I get it all the time where someone will hand me something that's just not ready to go, you know?
Bro, I mean, that to me nails it. That's the goddamn the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's the opposite of imposter syndrome. The Dunning-Kruger effect is when you think that your shit is the shit, but everyone else can see it sucks, dude. And I've seen so much of that. There was this one guy who was talking up his platform as if it was the best thing that you could possibly get on. And I was like, I had to see this to see if I should be talking to this guy. I clicked it. I was listening to him. Hearing him speak was like listening to a fucking sloth trying to learn English. I mean, it's absolutely unreal. And he thought that creators were so lucky to get on this platform. And I'm like, oh, I'm never going to talk to this guy. You know, the mixture of the fucking arrogance and sloth. It's like, bro, I'm never going on this shit. But
right,
that translates to artwork too. You know, you can see that sometimes it's not. This is when it turns from that brazen to the fake brazen, the other end of the fake humble. I feel you can tell when it's not a genuine feeling. It isn't genuine pride. It's masking something else. It's masking this sort of insecurity. I don't see it in any of us, but it's something that I have seen over the years. I've seen it in a lot of, and to get to the topic that you were pushing here, I do love Pokemon. The topic that we're talking about here of the old versus new, right? Dude, this is my experience. When I was a newer creator, and even in recent years, sometimes a friend of mine who is more of an OG will introduce me to a fellow veteran who's a friend of his. And when the veteran hears what I've done and doesn't know me, the immediate switch to the defense. Oh, why should I know him? Just this sudden rush of insecurity just really pops out. And it, to me, that isn't fake. That isn't arrogance. That to me is insecurity. And I think that a lot of people probably also mistake that the genuine brazen, bold promotional marketing tool as insecurity.
Because that's my favorite thing, though. I love guys who I come up and introduce me and they're like, "Why does it sell? Should I know you?" I was
like, bro, that's what they say.
All right, cool. Let's walk away. And then a week later, he's like, "Oh man, like we met at the con. I didn't know you did blah blah blah. Can you get me?" Nope.
Yeah, man. They go, "Why should I know you?" I've heard that from these veterans over and over and over. Why should I know you? As if they think that they're still in touch with what's going on, and then meeting me makes them realize they're not.
I think to kind of put a bow on the previous topic, I think the key is I had to have a hard time calling anybody humble who's working at their craft. You know, because we mentioned Tom Brady, we mentioned Belichick. You said the best quarterback of all time. I don't know about that one. We mentioned a bunch of people, but those people are meticulous workers, and I think that's a thing. Is like if you see somebody putting in work, you see somebody improving. I have a really hard time I have a really hard time calling that person arrogant with a negative connotation to it.
Yeah.
What you're describing is just an asshole. Like you're just describing somebody just being,
No, it's true,
and that's the thing. If you're just being outright, call it something else. Like, if you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's just being an asshole. That's not being arrogant. You're just a dickhead. You know what I'm saying? Like let's use the English language has a lot of words. Let's use them. You know what I mean?
Wait, hold on. Can we go back to Armin's last two comments at 8:51? Can we just play them back to back? Sloth, and then Pat's bro. Does Armand? Okay, so first of all, his name's Armand. Just so you guys know, I didn't know this shit. I was with him in person this past weekend, and he was pushing it that his real name's Armand, not Armin. So there's that. Number two, does Armand think a sloth is a Pokemon? What's going on here? A sloth.
There is a sloth. There is a
I
sloth.
keep telling you,
it's slack off, but bro, that's a real life animal, dude.
I keep telling y'all, Armin is not a person. He's an NPC. He's a series of ones and zeros. Like you're expecting the AI is not quite there. Like Armin's different.
Yo, Armin had such a flex at the party. I did a Space Between New Year's Eve party, and somehow it came up. I'm not gonna say, but the idea of like of how common it is to have a 6-pack. And I said some shit to the effect of, no one here has a 6-pack. And Armin was like, I beg to differ, you know? And I was like, oh, okay.
Damn, dude.
All right, so we learned the right pronunciation of Armin's name, I think. And so let me say this. I came up with the premise, so I'll introduce it. We did a little bit of a bait and switch. So it's not gonna be like old creators versus new creators, like what Travis say, we're gonna tell you don't know how to make comic books or some shit like that. I'm smarter than that. But you said what?
I'm out.
Yeah. No, I think what could be interesting is like, because I like truthfully, in this space, I learn from everybody. You know, like it'll happen where I'll learn more from a Richard, I'll learn more from a Pat, than say like somebody brand new. You know what I'm saying? But Chris has taught me a lot of things. Who, you know, he's got more experience than me, I think. But you know, Chris has taught me a lot. He's in some ways he's changed my whole philosophy on like how the comic book making process, you know. So I think there are people that consider like if you're newer than me, you can't learn anything from me, which I think is asinine, frankly. So I was thinking we could do like, we can talk about what we're seeing that is like a yellow flag. You guys can talk about what you're seeing from the newer creators. That's yellow flag. You guys can say what yellow flags you're seeing from older creators, you know. So it's not going to be like, yo, Pat, fuck you. You know, like we're going to have a good conversation.
Say it like that, man. Yeah. Hold on, wait. All right. So I know green flag and red flag. What's yellow flag?
The in between, Pat.
So just like a regular shit? I mean,
a yellow flag.
A mid-take.
A warning.
What happens when you see a yellow light, Pat? You slow down. Like,
I speed up.
Damn, that's the two types of people in life. I think before we get into that, Stokes, maybe we should answer the Ravenloft's question, just because I think it'll help frame the conversation a little bit of what's the old guard and what's the new guard and how do you become old guard. And you've famously been quoted saying that you think that you brought the old guard, or the term old guard, to comics. So I'll let you describe it, buddy. Maybe tell us about when you coined the term old guard in comics.
Look, I'm gonna keep it vague. I'm gonna keep it vague because frankly, I don't feel like getting back into that bullshit. Yeah. But essentially to me, the old guard meant like old gatekeeper, right? Like you, like I said, you're new, you can't have an opinion. Your campaign didn't make this, you can't have an opinion. People are comparing their numbers from their 13th campaign, and this is not a specific incident. This is happening. I've seen this happen multiple times. They're comparing the numbers. They're comparing anything from our new stuff to their stuff they're doing now, and they've been in the space for like 5, 6, 7, 8 years. So it's like, of course, my numbers aren't going to be as good as yours. I just got here, but I do have my own thoughts on the comic book making process. I do have my own thoughts on marketing. I do, some of which I'm just echoing what Pat says, man. It was one time where Pat says something really, I'll get cooked. Like I'll echo a Pat blurb or something like that. I'll get fucking cooked like the whole marketing, is that a combo making skill? I got that from Pat. I got that from listening to Pat. I got fucking cooked. But essentially, I don't like gatekeepers. Like it's weird to me that you should say that somebody can't have an opinion. You know, that's odd. So that's what it means to me. And frankly, it's not an age thing. And I should have been more specific on who I was talking about. It's all the creators I've met. Mostly 95% of creators I met in the space have been fantastic. And the older creators, like I would not be the artist I am today without Richard Fairgray. He is like I don't want to say shaped and molded. I don't know how that sounds, but he has helped me so much in becoming a better artist and a better creator, understanding the medium. Like, and I like the idea that we would disrespect older creators is crazy. We be in this space. Everybody in here has been in this space. We had been in space with Travis, been in space with Pat. We've been in space with Richard Fairgray. So to put a bow on that, what I meant with old guard, I was saying literally like you're old and you're guarding us from having opinions in the space.
Oh, gotcha.
You're using your platform to shit on us. You know what I'm saying? And those posts got likes. Those posts got 40 plus likes on it when I was talking about gatekeeping. So it's not just something that I'm experiencing, that Chris is experiencing. It's happening to multiple people.
Yeah, I mean, no, Travis and I just described that happening to us. You know, like that's
exactly.
Yeah, I think that comes from when, I mean, there's a few things that work here. It's a very nuanced situation. The comics industry at large is not good to its veterans and hasn't been. Contracts would routinely fuck people over, and editors in general, you know, until recently, creators were very dependent on going up to editors. Can I have some work? Can I please have some work? And after a while, they become old as fuck, and the editors become new. And when they're at bar meeting creators at your cons, they're not hanging out with someone who's fucking 60 years old, right? So of course those guys aren't getting any gigs anymore, and they become bitter because they don't have a retirement plan, and they feel fucked by an industry that they put their entire life into. So of course they feel bitter. And instead of taking it out on the system, some of them, not all of them, take it out on the newer creators. It's happened to me. From what Travis has said, it has happened to him. You guys, I'm sure that you've seen it as well. It is a pretty common thing. And I feel like it's also a common thing to find creators who have been able to navigate the system in a much more clever way and have been, you know, they didn't have crowdfunding back then, but now, I mean, bro, look at Brian Polito. Look at Ron Randall. They are absolutely killing it on Kickstarter and are going step for step and even way far ahead of newer, younger, modern creators, you know? So it's the creators who are left behind by the system, who didn't learn a way to work around the system, that I feel can sometimes develop this bitterness. Because I hear old guard, I didn't know like how you were phrasing it there. I've always thought of old guard as just like, you know, the group of veterans. But if you're changing it to mean in this conversation to veteran creators who are gatekeeping things from new creators, that absolutely exists. And I think that we've all experienced that. And it's negative. You know, no one wants that. No creator should be subject to that. Just as no veteran who is doing right by new creators should be rejected or not respected by new creators.
Yeah, and if I go back, I'll be more specific. I don't know. Like I might have heard. Yo, you know what Chris put in the chat? Pat cooking the comic book old folks home. What the fuck is that? Wow. Yo, you're wilding. No, and if in retrospect I should have been more specific, but like I said, it's happened. It's happening to multiple people. But like, yeah, the idea that I be for older creators is asinine. I talk with Pat. We would talk like every other day.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, yeah, what you said before is how I've always thought. Why not listen to everybody? I've learned from everyone on this panel. Travis, what you do for the Kickstarter streams, majorly beneficial to the entire community. Sure. I think very, very influential in how you do it. I always recommend that stream to people who are up and coming on Kickstarter, and also people who are tried and true on Kickstarter. Now, Chris and Stokes, the way that you guys handle social media, I think that should be seen as influential as well. You know, it's different, and I like disruption. You know, I am listening to everyone, and I think that's important. You know, and at the same time, I've learned from veterans, the veterans who respect me, the ones who don't respect me, fuck you, as anyone who's new wouldn't respect me. That's just a person. However, the ones that are respectful and nice, I look to them and I see wisdom. I see years of working around the system. If you're successful for 3 decades, you are a fucking genius in this industry. You are worth following for sure. However, if you were successful 4 decades ago and you're being a dickhead to everyone who's doing it now, then you're not worth listening to, period.
Definitely. Travis, did you want to hop in?
Pat, you don't believe in the 6-tier system?
What's that?
The Kickstarter stats, you know, it runs from 0 to 1,000, 1,000 to 5. So we're all leveled, you know. You always get called 6-figure Shan, you know, and I could be 5-figure, but that 5-figure, if I was on a tier, I would be in the 20 to 100,000 tier, where you're at the 100,000 above. You're 1 tier above me, but you know, I just want to be clear.
Yeah, so you got to listen to me, right?
Right, because it's a leveling system. I can show you. You want me to present the system to you guys? You want me to show you?
Yeah, show us the system.
It's a dedicated system on how this works.
This is real? This is a real thing? Someone made a cash system for Kickstarter?
No. It's so this is the statistics for Kickstarter. Is what it really is.
Oh shit.
So what we make a joke sometimes, what I've made a joke sometimes is what tier you're in. So I'm with 1,872 people. Pat Chan is only with 342 people. Like he's pretty high up there.
What?
And what's the high? You guys are in the 1,000 to 6,000. So you guys are in the biggest tier at like the 7,000 or 9,554.
Yo, this is I didn't feel as small as before you brought this graph.
Wait.
I'm fake humble now, guys. I'm changing my mind.
Wait, so hold on, bro. This is crazy. So 3 people have raised over $1 million in comics on Kickstarter.
By Polito, I imagine.
Bro, I gotta make
it's
for
pure capital. It's per book. So I actually don't even think Brian Polito's in it.
Really?
It's Todd McFarlane for his action figure. It's Keanu Reeves for his Berserker.
Okay.
And then the third one, believe it or not, is hold on, give me a second. It's actually a book from way back in the day that they didn't even fulfill.
No fucking way, really?
Cyanide and Happiness, I think, their first book, I think is what it is. Yeah.
Yo, Cyanide and Happiness didn't fulfill?
I think the first book that they put out, I think it's that. Let me double check. Hold on.
Bro, that would be
wait.
If you are one of the 3 and you didn't fulfill,
one of the 3 hasn't fulfilled.
Look at these numbers, and I think what's interesting is it goes from 15,000 and 1,000, and then 9,000, and then 1,000. Like it there's a bump from the 1K to the 10K.
Oh, I am wrong. So it is Berserker. Okay. Order of the Stick is the company. It wasn't Cyanide and Happiness. Order of the Stick, and that was early Kickstarter. It made more than Keanu Reeves, just to give you an idea of backers. And then how to think when you draw volume 4, believe it or not.
Oh, I see. Oh my God. This is how you know when a campaign is getting lit up. This Order of the Snake shit has 22.
I can show you guys if you want.
1,000 comments.
How many comments?
22,000.
People just being like, where the fuck is my book at?
Yeah.
So that's the top 3. And then, you obviously got Power Rangers, and then how you think you can draw.
I think it's interesting, though, that most people are going from 1 to 10. So I want to get that 10K even worse, man. I'm fiending for it.
I think it's kind of ridiculous that it goes from 1 to 10K. Like, it's ridiculous. Like that gap. Like, because I think the average Kickstarter person, is about 5,000. Like, once you've figured it out, it's about $5,000. Drawn Talk Order did 1 million. I know they did 1 million. That's what I was saying.
I think this is before, so I think you're
right.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. All right, so
but that was just to clarify, because you always call Pat Chan 6, and I was gonna feel sad being 5 because there's a lot of people at 5.
5 is good.
Here. So
5 is good.
I'm
Me
at
in
the
the
20
5.
higher. So
You'll hit 6, man, bro. I'm sorry, I cannot get over this order this thick shit. I can.
Pat,
Yeah,
we
that's
gotta
crazy.
move on, bro.
Oh, but isn't that not crazy to you guys?
No,
You
it is
make
crazy.
A
I don't know. I
million
don't have
and
any
don't
point of
fulfill,
reference.
and this guy has the balls to have a Twitter still.
That's wild.
but yeah, that's to go back to the actual point. I agree with you. I hate gatekeepers. That's why I have a lot of problems with, the way Ethan runs his stuff. I'm not even going to call it Comicsgate, but like Ethan Van Skyrim, like to get to the higher numbers, you have to be on his show. There's a gate, right? To get to the high Indiegogo numbers, there's like one or two who didn't go through the path of going on his show to get that bump. Right. Those are gatekeepers. If I need to be on a certain show to make it, but I don't even hate it either. Like at the same time, if I knew there was one in my camp that if I could appear on, I'm going to make, $20,000. I'm going to go to it.
You're on it.
I'm not even mad. Oh, this is the one. Nice.
This is it, bro.
Yeah, this is the one.
I think it's important to note that there's like not literal gatekeeping. There's figurative gatekeeping. Like you can't do a thing unless you're doing a thing, right? And then there's cultural gatekeeping, right? And like people that think like, for instance, I used to have this mentality of like if you're selling comic book nudes, like fuck that comic. Like I really had to like break out of that mentality. What's funny is I told Pat this. I feel bad. I pulled up Thirsty. I pulled up Thirsty. I was like, look at this fucking guy. Look at this fucking guy selling sex. Where's the story? And then I ended up buying Thirsty. So it's okay. It's okay. You put your finger down. But like it can be cultural or it can be like figurative gatekeeping as well,
Yeah, and plus I think that let it just be said. Anyone who picks up Thirsty and reads it will be like, oh, this is the best story I've read this year.
No, okay, relax, bro.
No.
I read Destiny New York 1. So which one?
I mean, Destiny New York is a more in-depth story for sure. But I mean, in the genre of sex stories, to me, it's me and Cedric,
Yeah, Pat's competing against himself. he's competing against himself is what he's saying. I think
one day, Stokes, you'll be competing too, hopefully.
Come on in.
Pat? Nah, we collabing, bro. Fuck Pat, what you talking about? 2025, baby, you know it. I'm just gonna harass Pat till he doesn't comment with me. I think so. This is a conversation we've had, and I'm really not trying to. Only one thing comes to mind, so I have to say that example. I think a lot of times with the older creators, there's a resistance. There's resistance to change with anybody, right? So I put that out there, but there's certain things that people. It's gonna sound like I'm talking about page turns, but I'm not. There's certain things that people try to like push on the people and try to say, nah, this is how it's been done. Like this is what. If your only argument for something is this is the way it's always been done, that's a terrible argument. Either the thing sucks or it's a terrible argument. Like that's just the way I see it. Like because there are all kinds of arguments. There's all kinds of arguments for using page turns, for instance. But what was a lot of things that were echoed to me was, oh, it's just how it's always been done. Like a lot of creators stand by this. It's like that's your only argument. That's a L argument. So another thing that I don't know how this has been a hot button issue, but our group of creators, right? Chris, Rob, Nick, we do not tweet out links that much, or at least I think we switch it up. But predominantly, a lot of my chat from my campaign it's not like copy and pasting links. I put in the pinned tweet. We refer to the pinned tweet. The reason we do that is because when you post a link. When you post the link, Twitter throws way the fuck down, like by like a tenth of the views you might get if it's a picture or something like that. And we really, I catch a lot of shit for that quite often, but I don't understand why, because it's just trying something. It's not even trying something different. I would personally take that. I would personally say that I started that, or at least I'm one of the main people doing that. But it's not hurting you. It's not hurting you for me to tweet, to not tweet links or tweet links. You can condition your audience for anything. And I hate when the argument as well is consumers aren't going to do this, consumers aren't going to do that. Consumers will do whatever it takes for a good product. If they like the product, they'll do whatever the fuck it takes. You know, like you'll wait outside for Jordans. If you can't find a show, you'll pirate it. It's all kinds of shit that people do to get the product. So to me, it makes more sense to condition the audience to look at a pin tweet. And also, whenever, and Chris brought this up, whenever you have a thread and you post this stat, you'll see the profile visits will go up. It's literally a metric on Twitter. And a good post might have 20, 30. And if they're going to your profile, the first thing they're going to see is probably your follower count. And then they're going to see your pin tweet. And again, people can do what they want, but to have a dogmatic opinion about that, and again, the only defense is consumers won't do this or this is how it's always been done, to me is a bad argument.
Yeah, definitely. You also can even see now just how much traffic your link posts get, and they definitely do less than if you post, say, a picture. I think people are more likely also to just like a picture and retweet it, which will just help the algorithm, as opposed to just skipping over it, which will hurt the algorithm because Twitter is just like, nobody likes this post, so we're going to throttle it down. But to build off of that, I think old guard creators don't necessarily show enough of their comic while it's being made. I feel like I a lot of the time I have to really dig to see what's going, at least on Twitter. Maybe on other platforms like Instagram, they're a little more conditioned to show the process. But I feel like newer creators are the ones that are really keeping, are holding a hand in hand and with the audience and letting us see the whole process. I mean, we have Crumbs in the chat, and they draw on stream, right? I mean, we post almost everything. You're very active in showing and getting people's opinions on like, do you like this cover? What do you think of that? And I used to do that. Yeah, I used to do that kind of stuff with on Instagram with like letting people vote on covers and things like that. And so it's like I think maybe older creators can tap in a little bit more to just how exciting it can be to be a part of from the very beginning, and using all your different social media platforms to get that across.
Right. You ready for me to rip it apart yet?
Rip it apart, Travis. Go ahead.
All right. Let's talk about your pin think theory. I get your theory and it makes sense on the algorithms, but what you're not factoring in is there's certain people, especially if you're the old guard, let's use the old guard, who follow me, who are comic creators. A majority of them follow me and want to see my shit every day, and they're fellow comic creators. That pin, if I tweet that thing, it doesn't matter. They've already trained Twitter to follow my stuff, everything I post. It's not going to throttle it for them. Those are the people who are going to retweet it. Those are the people I'm looking for, because I'm looking for that retweet. You don't get it. And if you look at the engagement of retweets on a pin tweet, it is very, very low. So that's something to factor in on that. I'm not saying that you're wrong, because if you are a new creator, let's go the opposite way. Like, this is for someone who's done this for a little bit. If you're a new creator and this is your first Kickstarter and you're posting it every day, you're absolutely right. You're going to get buried. But if you're producing content, you have engagement every day, that stuff changes. Same thing with Stokes. You're like, I get the game. I get the game. Like, having people engage, regardless of what it is, whatever you post, if you can get engagement, it works. And it's going to make sure your stuff's not throttled, period. I will say some controversial stuff as well. Not like Stokes, but I will say some controversial stuff in the middle of a campaign every time. I promise you. Watch it. I do it on purpose. Like I know the game. I run a web design company and a web marketing company. Like that's what I do for a living. That's my primary job. So that's why when I fought against it, it's not because this is the way it's been done. It's because if you've trained your audience, and even more so on Facebook, it's actually more relevant on Facebook than Twitter. The people who you need to see it, the people who are going to retweet, who are following you every move and really care about your stuff, they're going to retweet that. And that's how you get those launches on first day, that big jump, that big 100 backers. I don't get less than 100 backers on day one because of that retweet system, because I've created my audience. I think we share tons of art. I would say people like Pat Shan doesn't, but I think that's because he's doing so many different comics at the same time. I don't think, but I think the average person is doing 1 or 2 comics, just sharing stuff as they go.
And yeah, so like the back to the link thing, I think what you're saying is right, and the way that Twitter set up, there's no let's talk about being dogmatic. It's like there's nothing that works 100% of the time. You know what I'm saying? Like what are our backer, like what's your follower to backer ratio? Like not even just on Twitter. Like what is it? Like 10%? You know what I'm saying? Like 15%. So it's like it's lower than that. So I don't understand telling, not I'm speaking generally here. I don't understand telling somebody like this is what you have to do. It kind of goes back to my previous point. We'll talk in circles a little bit. But it's like if that works, great. You know what I'm saying? And then that is something to consider. That, you know, those same people. I would also argue that though, there is a merit to getting new people that, like, if you're, you know, like you guys know I got a campaign coming out, but what about the people that might not? And I would, that's, I mean, it's not even a caveat. It's just extra content. There's no way that you're not, but most people aren't going to back your Kickstarter. Like most people are not.
Of course.
0.00001% of the world's population is about to back your Kickstarter. So I don't understand trying to make anything like a binary thing. You know what I'm saying? Like anything can work, and nothing's going to work 100% of the time.
Well, and you'll see it when one thing before you stress.
Yeah.
Pat and I have been doing well. You'll see it like, you remember when like they accused Facebook of throttling all the information? Like you're throttling all the information, predicting what that month for Kickstarter was gangbusters for Facebook because they stopped throttling. They went the opposite way. They're like, no, we're not throttling. And like, you can see it when the algorithms are with you, like it makes a huge difference. And Pat, I'm sure you've seen it when the Facebook algorithms are like, oh, we're gonna let this fly.
I mean, yeah, 100%. That's what I was going to talk about too, is just that, you know, I missed a portion of the conversation, so I'm not sure if this was said, but the correlation of Twitter followers to backers, it's very dynamic because the Twitter algorithm changes with the express intention of suppressing you. They don't want you to take eyes off of Twitter and put them on Kickstarter, you know. So you can have 100,000 back Twitter followers. That isn't going to correlate often to the same amount of backers that someone with 5,000 followers would have. You generally do have, you know, a larger reach, but they'll try to suppress you just the same, no matter how many followers you have. So social media makes it very difficult, and that's why I appreciate Kickstarter having that sort of built-in algorithm. I appreciate newsletters, appreciate things like this, like Travis's show. These let us break through the algorithm. And what I love personally, we talk about Twitter Spaces a lot here because this is how a lot of us met, right? And Twitter Spaces has such a cool function that you open your phone and it doesn't matter what is happening with the algorithm. If you're live and someone follows you, that live little circle for Twitter Spaces is the first thing you'll see when you open that mobile app. And that, I think, is going to, if things don't change, if Elon stays on the tried and true road of Twitter Spaces being as is, I think that's terrific. I think that's a way that we can work around the algorithm and also work around Twitter's most negative aspect, which is that it truncates conversation into these little bits where we have to remove all nuance and be constantly misunderstood.
I think the Twitter space thing is interesting because, I mean, Pat, we had a conversation with somebody where you shouted me out for doing the Twitter spaces, and then somebody was like, Twitter spaces suck, and we were like, why? And then they couldn't respond. And so it's like even embracing new stuff or not insulting people for embracing new things, right? Like shunning innovation, I think, is one thing that anybody, but that again, that's not an old versus new thing. That's just in general. But yeah, I've gotten lots of shit for just hosting Twitter spaces. You know, a wonderful networking platform, in my opinion. Like I said, I wouldn't know Pat if it weren't for I met Travis I met all y'all through a space.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I met every single one of y'all through a space.
I see that conversation as emblematic of what I was talking about before, about how sometimes even the new creators are so ingrained by the mainstream systems that they dismiss their most helpful tools. They dismiss spaces. And I mean, we were in a thread where someone dismissed Kickstarter saying, "Oh, you guys are just kickstarting, but I got my book in Walmart." And I was like, "Oh, you got your book in Walmart once?" This is career shit. You're building your audience. Why not use all tools at hand? Kickstarter is a terrific tool for young creators, for all creators, for everybody.
No, Kickstarter is amazing. Just being able to monetize your audience and finding the people that are willing to follow you through everything. You know, these are really like people that we're going to have for years, hopefully. If you treat them right and you keep delivering these theoretically, I mean, and especially for us, the newer creators. And I think that's something that we, as newer creators, we have to thank older creators for, because there has been a decade plus of kickstarting on comics, right? That has laid the groundwork for, newer creators to just hop into this ecosystem and find new people that will hopefully be around until we're off dirt rock, right? So definitely want to be using all your platforms though.
Yes, I mean, bro, Kickstarter. Just think about this: people are so ingrained in the old system that they'll go. I see Kickstarter as a donation because you're paying right to the creator, and meanwhile, they're worried about paying a creator for a book that doesn't exist yet. And meanwhile, they will go take a catalog and go, "Oh, this publisher has this book written by my favorite writer," and they'll go to a store, give money to a store employee, who then the store owner gets that, gives a portion to Diamond, who gives a portion to the publisher, who pays a portion to the actual creator, and then maybe they'll get their book, right? There's a maybe with that system, there's a maybe with Kickstarter. But yet, for some reason, they see the shorter road of Kickstarter as more of a dynamic thing when it's not.
Right.
And we've seen time and time again, these publishers, these stores prove that their situation in the mainstream is as, if not more dynamic than Kickstarter creators.
So, but what do you mean by dynamic? Just like the range of backing, or like how well
whether or not it's going to happen, whether or not the book that they paid for actually comes to fruition. There's publishers will delay books time and time again. That previews guarantee of it's marked previews, it's out in May. Not a guarantee, especially in indie publishing. They're people are so attentive to the idea of a Kickstarter creator missing their delivery date. But how about publishers that constantly miss delivery date? It happens all the time, and it's not seen as the same, but it's the exact same. Kickstarter is just removing the middleman.
Right. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of publishers that will, just like month delay, right? And you just kind of just have to hold it, right? And
and that's, I mean, to me, it's totally fine. But the customer and these creators thinking that it's just so different, and that it's so unreliable because you're just dealing with a person. I would take a person over a system anytime.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and you can hopefully keep a person accountable. But I mean, Kickstarter, there's definitely some bad apples in the Kickstarter community.
Sure, everywhere.
But so you just got to make sure you're doing your research, right? As being a good consumer too, right? And making sure you're protecting your money, and hopefully not enabling people to continuing to scam the system. Travis, did you want to hop in on this topic?
Sure, I'll hop on it. One of the things I see when I talk about it, and I apologize, guys, I'm packing up Kickstarters as we go. That's why I mute all the time, and why I'm doing random things in my hand. I'm packing,
grind, man. Of course.
I'm working, hustling. One of the things that if we could pick on new indie creators on Kickstarter, that one thing that I would do is they always look at our numbers. And we were kind of talking about numbers before we went live. There's a reason why we have the numbers that we have, right? So that you'll see this guy oh, I'm going to sell $5 a book, just like the comic store. And then I'm going to do, $5 shipping, and I'm going to do as low as possible. Those are the guys who never fulfill. Their intentions were pure, but they never fulfilled because they didn't make enough money to be able to pay everybody. Right? They just didn't. That's one of the beautiful of Kickstarter is people want to be part of that process and they're willing to pay that extra. So when we talk about, how to do things in Old Guard versus Zoo, that's the only thing that I think you should learn. Like the people who paved the way for you guys to do this, who worked really hard on figuring out these numbers, we do it for a reason. The reason why the numbers are there, it's not greed, guys. It's because we have been so many times having to pay out of pocket to fix our problems, and we don't want that for you guys as we've got that stuff. I have a project right now where the whole team is mad because a guy ghosted because he didn't make enough on the Kickstarter. He just made it. It was an anthology. The book is done. He hasn't even, and he's so embarrassed about it, he hasn't even sent it out to digital. Someone who's been around for a while and watched that, they've seen that people who've been in similar situation where the people still rally behind them and find a way to get the book. And you can do that. It's just being upfront and honest. Honesty is the best part of this game. If you are honest and you have a good product, it's going to work out.
I agree 100%. And I think that mixture of honesty and communication is just irreplaceable. If no one looks at your campaign and is ever, if they're attentive, there are some people who will ask, where's the book? And meanwhile, there's an update every week. It's like, bro, you can find out immediately. But if you are never getting that notification, oh, your backer wants to know where your book is, that means that you're updating within every 30 days. And I think that is a really, really strong way to show your backers that you are anticipating their needs. I think that as long as that button never comes up for them, here, now you can click the check on this campaign, then they're not going to be wondering where you are. If you're always updating, if you're always clear, concise, everything, in my opinion, should be good.
For sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick. I had somebody, so I sent the digitals out the day after. The day of, actually.
That's crazy.
Because I'm trying to, I get the comic done, little pro trick, little vet trick. I get the comic done first, and then I print it out even, you know what I'm saying? So at that point, I'm not really waiting for much after that. So, I sent it digital, but I sent it through Kickstarter. I don't do the whole email thing. And then I also mentioned the update as well. Somebody was like, I did an update. Somebody was like, did you send out the PDFs? Where's the PDF link? And then they commented on the main page too. It's like, where's the PDF link? And I was like, and they DM'd me, and I was like, you did these steps in reverse, frankly. But I went through and I responded. I said, the PDF is check your messages. And I responded to the update and responded the same thing, like check your messages. Cause I'm like, yeah, I don't need that. Don't put that evil on me.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to mention that. So we were talking about or things that us new creators think older creators could do better. I think something that us newer creators could do better, one of those things is using updates better. Obviously, as Pat is saying, like I see a lot of newer creators, you'll look at their campaign page and there's 0 updates or 2 updates like on day 29. And it's like, you got to be, fostering your community. You have to be putting energy into the people that want to put resources into what you're making. So Pat or Travis, whichever one of you guys has something to go, what would you say newer creators aren't using or doing very well that you old guards are doing a lot better? You can mention more about price because we were talking about that backstage, but didn't really get to elaborate.
Well, I think the biggest thing is let's go to that update thing. I think that update thing is the biggest thing that new creators think. The reason the people who are making the bigger numbers and is 100% updates. It's updates or email lists because that's the only surefire way that you can get people. So here's the secret, guys, and I'm only going to say it once. Do an update on your old campaigns. Do it often. Do it at least 3 times a campaign because it's going to bring people over because people are waiting. Second thing, it's a pain in the ass and it sucks, but share other people's campaign in that. It sucks, but if you're a new creator and you don't have that new backer, those shares, here's the way what it translates for me. For every 100 backers that person has, you get 1. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but the way the Kickstarter algorithms work, if someone, so let's say use Decay, for example. I get Decay to showcase my newest grandstand, and he has 200 backers. I'm going to get 2 from that. If one of those is a super backer, that person's probably in the algorithm, people are following them. That's going to share it to them, which is directly Kickstarter backers, which is more likely to get me a backer. So that's a system. So you find people who are in the same level as you, meaning the same backer count as you, to get them to share your stuff. Obviously, if you can get someone higher, that's great, but that doesn't always work out because sometimes, it's perception, right? If Pat Shan shares me and he has 100,000 and I'm at $5,000, they don't understand why someone at that level would share something so low, like some of the people. So you don't get as big a return. I'm not saying it's across the board. It's just perception is everything. It doesn't mean it's reality. It's just perception is everything. So that's the biggest thing in the way I fix people's campaign. Like people are like, oh, I'm never going to fund. I'm never going to fund. I can get you funded tomorrow. Let me show you 4 steps and you're good. Like, because that's all it takes sometimes is doing that. And it's even more important when you don't know, like Stokes, you're in a new situation, or actually, Chris, you're in the same situation too. You're building a new audience. This is a new book. Not all your audience is going to come over. It's a weird thing. And it fucks with your ego. I'll be honest. It fucks with you because you're like, no, man, like my writing, you like my writing. And they're like, I don't like sci-fi. Motherfucker, you like my writing. You can trust me with sci-fi. I promise you it's going to be good. But it's weird that way, how that doesn't translate. That's so important to build that audience and transfer that over, because if you don't have a strong email list, which is what most new creators don't have, the strongest thing you have is your last campaign.
Let me say something real quick. Also, when you're doing these updates, nothing makes me it is tedious. Like when I do update with somebody, I'm doing 1 or 2 other plugs. I'm doing 1 or 2 other plugs when I'm doing an update, maybe 3, but generally I try to keep it to 1 or 2. And then I'm looking, I'm grabbing art, I'm grabbing interior art, I'm grabbing a cover. And I'm gonna sit there and kind of go over and really try to sell it. Nothing is more frustrating than when we do a project swap, we do an update swap, and it's just the premise I have from my Kickstarter, and then like a link and then the cover. It's like, bro, like you gotta, and it'll be like 10. It will be 10 different campaigns in the update. It's like, yo, like how is that really helping? You know what I'm saying? So I think the quality of the update as well is super important.
I find it disrespectful a lot of times, to be honest. I find it disrespectful that, especially if you're my boy, like that you're throwing me in a mix. And then especially if you're throwing me last, you're not even throwing me like top tier. Like I'm the bottom of the list. I was just an afterthought, and then I get really mad. Like if you don't do it, like if you say you're going to do it and then you don't, and that happens all the time. Like I get super pissed because I am always going to do it.
Yeah, I agree with all. I'm always surprised when what I perceive as a successful Kickstarter creator will go and do an update swap, and I'll check out what they've done, and it looks like the previous catalog. It's just it's endless images of endless campaigns, and anyone who would just stop and think for a second knows the backers are going to see one campaign and scroll and be like, oh, they're doing this, and then keep scrolling like, oh, I'm done, and they'll be checked out. It's not actually helpful. I limit it hard to 1 per update because I don't want to give the perception that I am not bringing value to my friends' campaigns, and I also don't want to give the perception that I'm spamming my backers. I want to curate the update swaps that I'm doing. And I think that those who don't do that are doing a disservice to their backers, to themselves, and to the people that they're trying to help, or that they're trying to get help from, even in this case, because clearly, they're not reading this shit. It when you do 10, 5, even 5 of those. It's too much. It's too much.
Yeah, definitely. So great tip. Keep it to 1 update, maybe 2, but definitely less is more for that.
100%.
And echoing what Travis said, keeping people at your level, mostly because you don't want that perception gap. Though I will say I have seen it happen where a bigger creator, like a really big creator, shares maybe a project that isn't doing well, and suddenly that's a like a 5-figure campaign. So
Yeah.
it can definitely happen, but that's not something to bet on if you're a newer creator, because a lot of the time that bigger creator isn't going to even have seen your message for you to talk to them, or if you're reaching out to them, it's going to feel very disingenuous. So really what you want to do is make a campaign that is undeniable to them, that they have to back it and they have to make a shout out because it's just so good. And then hopefully the success will follow.
Well,
yeah.
let me add something too. Stay kind of. I'm going to say stay in your lane, but that's not exactly what I'm trying to say. I can't believe it. And that's not big versus numbers. I'm saying, like, if you're writing a crime book, try to find other crime books, because your better results, right? Like, I sometimes won't share some. I was like, dude, you're doing a nudie book. My book is kid friendly. It's Cthulhu. It's Wonderland.
Yeah,
like it's not gonna stuff. It's not that I hate your book and think you're a bad creator. It's just that my audience isn't gonna vibe with that. But let me see. That's why I do like the creator hangouts. There is other ways I can help you. I just can't help you in that regard. The other thing too, don't get offended. Like, there's someone like Pat and I are boys. If Pat goes, hey, can you make sure you add me an update? And he'll ask me day one. I'm not going to get that update toward the end because I want Pat to get the most of my followers. Yeah. Like, and it's okay to do that, but just be clear on that, because some people get really frustrated because, when you're in the middle of a campaign, you're just trying to fight for every dollar, right? In fact, are you 100 yet? Did you get the 100 yet during the stream? Are we still at 99?
We got 100.
Let's go.
Okay.
Nice.
Good, because we got to get Chris to 100 at least during the stream.
Yeah, right.
What the hell are we talking if you can't even get to the
can't even get 100 back? Yeah, what is going on here? New creator L, dude. No, we hit 100, so it's actually new creator W. New creators, new guard knows everything. Don't listen to
Nice.
guard.
It's new kids on the block.
Are you
It's
old
new
guard
kids
now
on
that
the
you hit 100? Is that not the way it works?
Oh shit! Wait, is 5 campaigns the what was it? So
I
it's
think
5 campaigns.
5 campaigns. Yeah.
Stop,
Oh,
Chris.
yeah.
Chris, you know what you're
Yeah.
doing. Stop.
Exactly.
You know what you're doing.
Actually, to be honest, according to Kickstarter, that is an accurate statement. So now that you've fit 5 campaigns, once you fulfill this one, every campaign after you can have up to 3 campaigns unfulfilled.
Yeah. Oh
There you
shit!
go,
Swear.
man.
Like, for real.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Yo,
Yeah.
Stokes, I'm old guard now.
Old guard, bro.
Welcome to the
no.
old guard, man.
The
Oh shit! Ops.
I do
God
want to
damn.
piggyback. I want to piggyback off what Travis is saying here. I was talking about this on my on the closing stream of my highly successful campaign, Smoke Me to the Future Volume 2. And afterwards, I was just talking about backer updates, swaps. When you're approaching someone, I know some people will spam every campaign on Kickstarter. It's not going to help you. Give us some bridge from our campaign to your campaign, whether it be an art style, a concept, even just comics in general. What I get approached by is insane. I get approached by calendars, watches. Last time I mentioned that I got approached by a lady who was some kind of like inflatable beach pillow. And I looked at the campaign and I was just like, I feel bad that she's not funding her inflatable beach pillow. But bro, Smoke Weeds in the Future is not going to help your beach pillow, dude.
Yeah, definitely stay in your lane for that one.
You know what's funny is real
Yep.
quick. Pat did an update because I keep telling you, I'm ready for sweaty, sweetie,
Sweaty
whatever,
dude.
whatever. I cannot wait. That's a stimulus package because I forgot which. I forgot. Yo, I'm gonna ask Pat to start. He can do an update. I'm gonna ask him like, Pat, why can we never do an update? Try to gaslight him a little bit, get that on the back end. But Pat did an update for me, and I got 2 backers within like 5 minutes. Shit was insane. I was like, yeah, man, that's it. I can't wait for
That's
Stinky
juice right there.
This is how we do. You said stinky?
Wait,
Yeah.
is it sweaty? I thought it was steamy.
It's steamy.
It's steamy.
Oh shit! I was like, fuck. I always forget this shit
Bro, if
too.
it was
man.
sweaty, that'd be crazy. And
I
then
better
when
say
it's
it
all
right
done-
though, so I can get those backers. I better say it right. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
steamy.
it's steamy. And it's going to be 3 volumes. And when it's all done, it's thirsty, cheeky, and steamy. And I'm going to add a few stories and put it together into a hardcover called Thicky.
Damn.
I like that one. Yo, you got a customer in me. You got a customer in me.
All right, so I think Pat Shand, if you want to add what your what you think the new guard doesn't do properly that or well enough,
or anybody.
But maybe specifically new guard as an old guard creator.
I'm I'm trying to think.
He would never talk shit about me, so stop trying to instigate that, Stokes. Boy,
I'm yeah. It's hard to separate. You know, it's hard to separate what I see because I don't really judge by that. You know, it's I see people of all guards doing shit the right way and the wrong way. I think that a lot of the times what I see the older guard, I guess, doing wrong sometimes is using social media as if it's a blog. You know, I'll see a post and I'll start reading and then I'll be like, oh, bro, this is a chapter in a book. This shit is so long. I don't even know what your point is and I'm fucking out. Attention spans now are different. We're on Twitter. We're on TikTok. Wrap it up, dude. You know, that's something I notice my peers doing sometimes. As far as the newer guard, this is something that we always go through. I always say, you will pop off when you have developed your eye for art. That is for everyone. Sometimes some creators can't do it and don't end up developing their eye for art and have been in the industry for 3 decades and are turning out shit.
How you a senior citizen, new kid on the block, huh? Is what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I don't think it comes down to new or old. I see people doing things the right or wrong way across the board. You know, it's person to person. How dare you, Julius C? Who are you, sir? This is a panel.
That's Special Agent Julio.
Oh, that's Special Agent Julio, bro. Special Agent Julio. This is a panel of the hardest men you'll ever see in comics. Okay.
Hey yo,
I like
I'm
that
hard right now, dude.
I like that opinion of Stokes. The Battlefield Earth threads. I like it.
The what?
Stokes got the
Battlefield Earth. Hey, I got the best here on the panel. What you mean? Also, it's new kids on the block. Y'all keep saying new guard. New guard doesn't even make sense.
I like how the new guard wears earphones. That's nice. The old guard's just like, nope, laptop's good enough.
I have a big head. I have a big head as well. You know, I offer sometimes, but it's just I come through with that dome with the cabeza. You know.
Damn.
So Julius C is our boy Special Agent Julio. He might be undercover. So he can't. He's on his burner. So when you see me assault him in the comments, everything's all good.
I enjoyed your you two and Special Agent Julio did the MCU 4 rankings.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Entertaining. You know, I fell off entirely of watching the new Marvel shit, so it was entertaining seeing those takes on that. You know, I have to catch up. I'll catch up one day.
Man, that was a stream we kind of just threw up there, and I'm glad because I did not. I put the results on Twitter. I put the screenshot. Yo, were we spitting or nah? Motherfuckers like hell no. Motherfuckers like hell nah. You ain't spitting.
Yeah, nah, who get emotional about their superhero choices?
Did y'all? Somebody called me trash because I didn't like Eternals.
Yeah, that was actually pretty crazy. You want to get into? You want to trend? Do you want to move on to that?
We could talk about it in the abstract, I suppose, but
we got receipts.
It's important to keep in mind that Twitter is not real life.
Yeah.
Oh, I got it. No, I have another one. Is like people think that like Twitter is like people all comic book fans are on Twitter. Like there's too much of like people thinking, or at least from my perspective, people thinking everybody's on Twitter. Like Twitter is one part of the indie comic ecosystem.
Yes.
Even Kickstarter is one part of the indie comic ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just something to consider. And then it was interesting because Gary was talking about is social media hard. And I don't think it's hard personally. I think you just need to get engagement. We know who the engagement king is, but anything where the platform like Twitter or Kickstarter will more or less tell you I'll take do the take again. Anything where like the platform will tell you what to do, like YouTube, Kickstarter, Twitter. I can't call that hard. Like it's just at that point, it's just being perceptive and it's just taking a look at the information being presented. YouTube and Kickstarter particularly will be like, yo, like here's something you need to do. Kickstarter won't let you launch. YouTube will give you a bunch of tips on like, here's what you should do. Here's thumbnail tip. Here's like all kinds of other stuff. So I can't say that it's hard. And Gary brought up a good point. He said that I'm not trying to dump on him, but he said that he does better in person, selling in person. What I would say is that that's an incredibly inefficient way. Ideally, in a perfect world, you would be able to sell to people without having to have a conversation with them. Like that's optimal because you can't sit there and talk. How many times are you going to have? How many opportunities a year? How many cons did you guys do? Like last year? I think I did like 10.
Yeah, probably about 10, 12 for me. Yeah.
So that's 12 opportunities to sell your book where you're in an optimal, where that's like the best way to sell your book. That don't sound optimal to me, bro. I would think the best way, even only selling a book on Kickstarter doesn't sound optimal. You should be able to sell books any kind of way you need to. You know what I'm saying? So
yes, I agree.
I just wanted to address that as well because I'm sure other creators feel that way, like that they don't need crowd. And yeah, if you don't need crowd, Kickstarter, you don't need Twitter. That's fine. But I definitely think it'll help. Like I definitely think it'll help.
Here's the thing too. You know Henri, right, Pat?
I don't know. I don't want to say no if I'm wrong, but say the name again.
Henri? I can't think of his last name right now. So Henri has a samurai book. He goes to majority of the cons and he brings, like the guy brings it. He will bring about 2,000 copies and he will sell out every con. Yeah. Every con. He sells out every con. He buys it. But here's the thing, and it's just what Stokes was talking about it. Though he sells out every con because he sells it at a cheap price and get it in people's hands, when he does a Kickstarter, nobody's coming because he's not gaining those emails. He's not gaining that fan base. I would rather sell less at a con to build a true fan that's going to buy me forever, to get to that 1,000 fan, that 100 fans to, fund me for life. Right? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes, you should. Yes. Henri is fantastic. He's a great seller, but even he admits like that is not the way. And that's why he's going to the direct market and do all these other things, because building a fan base that way is sometimes really hard. Same thing with Tyler asked me about direct market, about promoting a book. I have a book coming to direct market, Coins of Judas and Granite State Punk. Those are great, but I don't know those fans. So those fans are harder to get, right? Yes. I am hoping that they'll come and find me and seek me out because I love my writing so much. But there's no guarantee. I like a lot of books and I don't know the name of the writer or the artist because it hasn't done that next level, right? You've got to be that next level to get that. And I think that happens probably a lot, Pat, with you doing the Zenoscope stuff. They just like, oh, I'm reading Val Helsing because I like the character Val Helsing. They don't care who's writing the book. They just buying the book. So trying to find those true fans and getting those to go to the next level, that's the key. And that's the only way you're really going to get to the high levels that you need to be.
Right. You really, to make a fan out of you on a title that has built-in fans, you have to really stand out and really impress. And thankfully, but I do want to say though, back to what we were talking about before about Twitter not being real life. The statistics are absolutely unreal. 25% of the users on Twitter, the smallest majority, make 97% of the content. The majority, 75%, makes 3% of tweets, right? What you see on Twitter does not reflect the majority. That's why you see all these niche opinions that seem to be shared by millions of people that you look at, it makes you feel like a fucking alien. And you wonder why people are freaking out over these things that don't matter fucking at all. It's because those are the weirdos who are online at home doing nothing but Twitter. The people who are actually living life, the majority who are gaining experiences and having a nuanced take, they aren't spending their time tweeting.
For sure. I haven't met a Snyderverse fan in real life.
Bro, same.
They don't
They be
exist.
out. Hey, Rob loves Snyderverse, bro. I'll be like, yo, this shit trash. Rob be like, well, trash how? How's it trash? But yeah, no, that's a very interesting statistic. Like the fact that, yeah, like it's so much of people, and I think I ran into one of them. I think I ran into one of them this weekend. Like I said, they they call me trash because I like the Eternals, and you'll even see some of the same. I swear to God, it's bots because every week somebody will be like, I don't understand the hate for Eternals, for instance. I thought it was a great movie. It's y'all see these tweets? Is it just me?
I probably have seen them, but I don't internalize them because I haven't seen Eternals,
Right,
so I don't know if it's good or not.
I liked Eternals, but I've also read the book and I didn't like that either. So it's about on the par. So it was cool that it was live action.
Yeah.
Had Blade for a minute. I mean, he didn't show up. He just talked. That was nice.
He just had his voice. Yeah, that was the. I'm pretty sure that's the original. It's me, Blorko scene, right? Where people were like, you wait for 10 minutes in the dark, and the guy just steps in the hallway. It's like, it's me, Blorko. I'm pretty sure that's where we. I'm pretty sure that's where we got it from.
Oh, I get the joke now. So that joke just, I mean, not to fucking explain a joke, but does that reference how the end of Marvel movies are just like a new character just randomly? Right. Gotcha. Okay.
But it's even worse. Like if you look at the context of like Iron Man, right? They establish S.H.I.E.L.D. as a presence, and then Nick Fury sits down. He's like, I want to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative. It's like it's a cliffhanger. It has world building, but you're also understanding the weight of the thing. But in this, like Eternals, it's literally a guy. Like the meme is accurate. It's literally a guy walking through the hallway and being like, "Yo, it's me, Blorko." Like there's no other significance to it as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, I saw one. I don't know what movie it's from, but I think it's Morbius. It's fucking Vulture goes to Morbius or some shit, and he's like, "Hey, I'm a bad guy too. Aren't you a bad guy? Let's do bad shit together, bro." And I couldn't believe that was Marvel.
Well, it's Sony, so you're gotta pass. It is Marvel, but it's that's the Sony division.
Oh, so Sony can use Vulture, even though that was an MCU Sony movie, right?
Yes, they can use anything in the MCU movies except for like the Iron Mans and stuff like that. Any villains that they have, yeah.
They should have had a Disney writer take a little pass at that scene because that shit was.
Should have got Pat. Why a Disney writer?
Well, because I mean, the MCU,
I'm saying why can't they get you to do it?
Oh, I mean, I would do it, but I feel like, I haven't seen Phase 4, but at least the MCU tags at the end of movies that I've seen, with the exception of a few, through Phase 3, have largely been world building. It hasn't been like that whole like, hey, let's do some shit together, and there's no real. It's not building toward anything. That one that I saw stood out to me, but I also haven't seen any of the other movies since the second Spider-Man. So who fucking knows?
You're not really missing anything. But if you're watching this stream and you want our opinions on Phase 4, make sure to watch our previous stream and hear our rankings and see our tier list. See what we think is gas and what is trash.
The Thor got to be low. I mean, Taika is a fucking horrendous director and writer. People.
What?
Yeah, people have been gassing him. People have been gassing Taika up incorrectly for fucking years. Thor Ragnarok is ass. Thor Ragnarok is the worst fucking Thor movie before Thor 4. I will never see fucking Thor 4. But Thor Ragnarok is SNL type shit. I mean, that dude can't write for fucking shit. Can't direct for shit. The worst. The absolute worst.
What's so funny is it was this guy, I forgot. It was a YouTuber, and they were talking about I guess this could be interesting because they wait and talk conversation about dialogue. But they were talking about how first off, I think any requirement that you're placing on writing, like, and this kind of goes previously to what I was saying. I mean, I've talked about it. I don't like being told how to tell my stories. But they were saying that the dialogue wasn't realistic, like that they don't talk like real people. But most people like Thor Ragnarok. They were referring to Thor Love and Thunder, and they were talking about Thor Ragnarok, and Thor Ragnarok had the same thing. There's so many different, like, Wes Anderson characters don't talk like real people. There's all kinds of directors I would say Spike Lee, like you could name them. Any auteur director, I feel like they're sometimes their characters can talk differently. They can be more exaggerated. They can be more subdued or what have you. So I just thought the criticism of like the dialogue isn't realistic. They're not talking like real people. We all Pat. We all love Thor Ragnarok, and they did the same shit. They did it was the exact same tone. It's like you don't factor that into your opinion on the movie. The fact that this tone is largely unchanged. Therefore, it's probably the execution is a problem, less so more than the style.
I mean, yeah, to me, the style fucking sucks too, you know? I mean, this, like, I hate try-hard humor. I hate humor that they tell the joke and then they go, yo, did you hear that? That shit was funny, right? And they just tell the joke again. That's Thor Ragnarok. You know,
that's Rick and Morty.
Thor 1 was funny. Thor Dark World was funny. We forget. Well, I don't forget, but people say like, "Oh, Ragnarok made Thor funny." Bitch, Thor was funny since Thor. Okay, Ragnarok didn't do shit to make him funny. It made him corny.
Damn, this is gonna be interesting. Maybe we need Pat on for when we do. We rank the rest of the MCU.
Yeah, we can't have it for Phase 3. No, absolutely, because you know that evergreen content. That's what we're looking to get more of. Have you guys heard of any advice lately that you vehemently agreed with, vehemently disagreed with, etc.? Advice, like,
yeah. I mean, advice on this panel has been good. I think that we've talked some good shit. Everything I say on social media is fucking immaculate, of course. I think that if you know, as a crowdfunding, I don't want to say mogul, right? But
Jesus Christ.
No, you know, I feel like I've learned a lot about crowdfunding over the past few years, and I'll even look back at campaigns that I did 3-4 years ago, and I see, because I do a large amount of campaigns per year, right? And I'll look back and I'll see how I used to do things, and I'll note the growth after a certain period of time. So I hope that when I give my advice on crowdfunding that people do key into it, because it's hard fought and well studied advice. I've done 20, I believe 25 campaigns now, maybe 26, between my I have my main account, a company account, and one collaborative account, and I've done it. You know, I've delivered, and I think that we're coming into a space where crowdfunding is no longer seen as the new thing, and we're seeing people emerge as the OGs of crowdfunding. I'm one of them, and Travis is one of them, and we're showing that this system of backer to creator, no one in between, that this is a reliable system, that creators can be tried and true on the platform, that you aren't following the platform, you're following the creator, right? And I think that if creators listen to what we're saying, especially about updates, both utilizing updates throughout your current campaigns and making sure that you use updates to communicate with backers in an impactful way, do that while developing your eye for art, you will be inassailable, unquestionable, undeniable.
That's great advice from Mr. Six Figures. If you're listening to this, make sure you're writing it all down. I mean, this is Six Figure Shand, and he's spitting game that he actually charges for. Am I right, Mr. Pat?
I do. I charge for it. You know, I've advised, I've built campaigns for creators and publishers, and there has been no one that I've advised on a professional level who has been anything less than abundantly successful.
No, yeah, like I said, Pat, that's been super helpful for me, like especially I think with his campaigns and such. Travis, you've been on here. Do you want to talk about your campaign? Or not your campaign, excuse me, your project?
Yeah, I can, but you know, I've got tons more to say, you know, about the subject and everything. So whatever you want to do. What if you want to move?
Whatever
All right,
you want
so
to do.
I think the hardest thing about Kickstarter is everybody has different goals going on Kickstarter, right? Some people want to be a creator, like I want to go as high as I can in the comic book industry. Some people don't want that. In fact, talk about the direct market. You know, when I've gone to the direct market, there's some people who like, you've sold out. I was like, no, I'm not stopping Kickstarter. They're not mutually exclusive, but that people get that perceptive. But I think the biggest thing that I don't like that frustrate me about work creators is one, they don't support a lot of books, and even if they do support it, they support it without reading it. I think you should read these creators and figure out what makes them tick and what gives them the audience. Like actually read the stuff. They're always asking me to read their stuff, but I ask them, have you ever read any of mine? And they never have, and it's kind of BS. The other thing, I'm going to throw a little shade at you, Chris, and I apologize. The best way if you're building campaigns is doing one at a time. Don't do 1 and 2. Do one at a time, because you didn't do a 1. Doubling up is bad for you in your career. Same thing with Decay. I know he's playing the same thing. What that's saying, what the reason why you're doing that probably, and this is me throwing some stuff on you, so if I'm wrong, is you want to get it done as quick as possible so you can get that trade, so you can get that finished properly. You're so excited to do that. And as someone who's done that, that was the biggest mistake of my career, is just rushing to get those things out instead of building a fan base. Because the people like the White Ash or the Nightwolf who've just built that steady issue 1 to issue 2 to issue 3 and just stayed on course, you can see their numbers crazy increase, where I'm like, finish this fucking series, on to this series, got this series. Stokes asked me, how many series, what are you doing this year? And I was embarrassed going, I got 20 books and 9 series. I'm like, shit. Like that's a lot, and only 2 of them are from publishers who are paying me to do it. 3, it's tough when you factor that thing out. I think if you get the steady growth, I know you're excited. I know you want your content, especially if it's done, to get out there, but it's better to just produce, get the next one out faster, and then build that audience that way. And you're going to see your growth happen, because if you're getting 1 and 2, you didn't get that growth that you'd get from 2 of people talking about number 1 and how great it was. Same thing with 4, like 4. Oh my God, that cliffhanger 4, I got to get 5, and they'll buy the whole run. Just that's my key point there.
No, I think that's fair criticism, obviously, and we take criticism and we accept it, and we try and learn from it.
You take criticism.
Yeah. So my thought process was I do have multiple books that are I have been sitting on it for a little while. And since it's not like a different title, it's the same title, just a second issue, just gave me more to put out there. I'm not really in a rush necessarily, in the sense to get to the trade, because like there's only 4 issues in Control Z, so we'll get there eventually. And 3 and 4 will be, individual campaigns. But I do agree that you definitely lose something from running issue 1 and then having that whole cycle going, and then running an issue 2 and getting all that you can from each campaign. So yeah, it's definitely and money, right?
Chris likes his money.
But I figured that since it was the same campaign, you're gonna buy 1 and hopefully buy 2, and so I was hoping that it would work out, and it's doing pretty well so far. But yeah, maybe I'm leaving money on the table, and I think it's important for all creators to take criticism and see exactly where you can optimize your platform and your career to the best that you can, especially learning from people that have done it multiple times.
And let me say,
leaving money on the table, like that's a fact. Like there's no way, because you've reduced the price for 1 and 2 versus what you'd sell for 1, or more than likely to try to build engagement, to not keep the price tag so high, right? You want lower level tiers at 1 and 2. You can look at it, the people who do the 1 and 2s versus if they did 1 and 2 separately, and you add that math together, it always ends up higher. Always.
So you're right, we are leaving money on the table, but it kind of goes back to what I was saying about there's no one right way to do it.
No.
Let me work through it. Not that, but we are leaving money on the table. But frankly, I'm just trying to. It's not even getting to the trade. I want more financial freedom, like, because if I get 80% of the money, but I get it up front, you're also what about shipping? You're saving shipping because you're cutting the shipping cost somewhere close to half. You're cutting fulfillment time in half. So for me, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm burnt the fuck out, bro. I'm tired. I'm fucking exhausted. Like I want to take a break. I don't feel like doing 4 and then doing a whole nother push, trying to get the pre-launch followers up, doing a campaign run, and then doing 5. It's just not something that I'm interested in. So you're right. You're leaving money on the table for sure, but you also have to like show pros and cons. And what I would also say is that having the trade on a table, on a con table, is going to bring me more money. It's only going to help. So I think we'll get at least in my example, I think I'll get the money back through shipping, through having a trade on the table. I have a publisher ready for the trade, so I can get them to that quicker. I have a spinoff that I'm trying to get to as well, so I can start on that. It's just so many different things, and like I'll give me and Chris credit, and this is not something that you said, but we plan out our stuff very meticulously. Like me and Chris, you know, Pat, like I asked you, what do you think about this release schedule? Me and Chris are very meticulous. We go back and forth about when to release certain things, what series, you know. So I think you have to go into it knowing that, yeah, you're gonna lose less money. If I lose like 2K, but I get like an extra month of that, I can just relax and recuperate, and then I'm gonna make it back on shipping. I'm gonna make it back in the con table. That's a risk I'm willing to take. That's a trade-off that I will lean into heavily. For me,
yeah, there's one
real quick.
One mic, please. Go ahead, Travis.
There's one thing you're also though I did mention money, you're also forgetting backers. Every campaign brings in more backers if you're doing it right. So you're leaving fans on the table, which is far more important to me than money. My goal is to get enough fans to produce anything I want and back me and support me forever to keep this as a career. So that's my goal. And I've also rushed when I should have just focused on building my fan base slowly to allow it to build to what it needs to be. Because once you get there, you're there. It's hard to get down. You know, I have about 250 fans who will back anything I do. And then and then I have another 100 that will jump around depending on the book. So it's crazy in trying to build that fan base, and because that should be your goal, is to build a fan base, right? That's our end goal. Hopefully, it's more important than honestly the book is building a rabid fan base for your material. You know, so when you do a cheeky, you get 1 billion people going, I need cheekies. I need to see all this boob content. I'm so sick of these Vampirella boobs. I need to see some new boobs of people I don't know.
Here's what I would say to that real quick is also, but does everybody, let me ask you this. Does every comic book reader read floppies and trades?
No, absolutely.
No. So having a trade on my table can get me access to like an entire subculture of comic readers, because we know Richard Fairgray, he hates floppies.
Right.
He read Decay issue 2. I've known him for like 10 months. He's my mentor. He read it last week because yo, there goes Richard. Because he doesn't read it. So like I said, it's just what do you want to emphasize? Like, what are you putting your emphasis on? Like I said, I'm gonna lose if I flame out and get burnt out because I'm doing 5 campaigns in sure. 12 months, I'm gonna lose all those backers. Those backers aren't backing shit else, you know, if I don't fulfill the campaign. So I say, not to say that nothing you said is wrong. Just adding the context, and I want to get back something else you said. But go ahead, Pat, because you had something to add.
Yeah, I want to throw in there that that is one thing that I try to take into account too when both giving and taking in advice is that you know sometimes a creator has a need or a desire that I cannot anticipate because that's not my desire personally. Like I was talking to 2 of my friends, and they were talking to me as successful Kickstarter creators, and they were saying that they want to go to Zoop for this that reason. And I begged them for the success of their pockets to just chill, think, and talk to me, okay? And in the conversation, I persuaded them that they should stay the course. However, I learned things about what they wanted out of crowdfunding that I would have never wanted myself, that I would have never thought that they wanted. So it was interesting to hear that. So I definitely, I think listen to Travis's advice, balance it with what you're talking about too, because the whole idea of like burning out isn't something that I would have personally considered. You know, I think that we all have different levels of what we want to be putting into certain projects. So yeah, just balance good advice with what you're doing and find that middle road, you know. And the only other thing that I want to add in here too is that seeing Richard bring up books versus issues, this is very much on my mind. I do something that makes me less money because of my personal choices. I want, as a creator, to put out a 150 to 200 page volume of Destiny New York every year. I think, though, if I were to start doing it as single issues, each single issue would make close to as much money as every volume. I really think that. And I choose to not do it on that specific series. So how I balance the benefit of single issues on Kickstarter versus the benefit of graphic novels, which for me, the latter being a more creative and emotional benefit, the financial benefit of single issues, I look at it like, oh, I want to do this. I want to tap into that so I can be more successful, you know? So I will do other series that way. I'll take other series and do them as single issues, and I'll be smart about other series. Destiny New York, I'll continue to be an idiot about. And it's still successful, but I choose to do it my way on that specific book because I need to creatively. However, business-wise, I'm keying into single issues hard. And I am, Travis and I went offline after a stream last week, and I'm taking in a lot of advice about certain things about single issues, pricing, printing, all that stuff. So this is a situation where I'm very much all ears. I'm very much listening to the tried and true single issue Kickstarter creators on this topic.
And let me say something else. I think everything that's been said here has been correct. And there's many different things to consider, you know. Even with I think also I'm gonna go back to the old creator thing real quick, pivot back. It's like the idea that you can give good advice that just doesn't apply to somebody, right? Or it doesn't apply to a certain situation. I got into a bit of a disagreement with the definitely older creator at this point, and I was like, for the K, I don't have an editor because my artist speaks Portuguese. So for me, also for my first series, I want to get my bumps. I want to take my lumps so that I can learn. So I can learn on my own. So it just made sense because I don't want to overburden my artist by having two different voices, and we can't even we have to talk to a translator where some stuff's gonna get lost in translation. So a creator told me, like, you need an editor. I'm like, no, I don't have an editor. And they were like saying, like, you're anti-editor, but I'm not. I'm just saying for this project. And then for Intrusive Thoughts and Gods Were Dead, Richard was my editor. And then Devin Arscott was my editor for Gods Were Dead. So it's just sometimes certain things don't apply. They don't apply in specific scenarios. It's not necessarily bad advice. And saying this advice doesn't apply to my scenario is not it's not shitting on it's not being disrespectful or not listening or whatever. It just doesn't apply at this point. Also, I don't know if Travis was specifically referring to me, but I did back his Granite State Punk campaign. I did not read the book. Like I said, I'm burnt the fuck out. I also do think there is value though in backing a campaign. I backed a lot of campaigns because I wanted to see how to run a campaign. I wanted to see how to do updates, like how fast are they fulfilling, what kind of packaging are they using, you know, what are the little nuances to it. So that's why I backed. Ideally, I would read every comic book that I back in every comic book ever, but like I said, your boy is fucking exhausted. So my apologies, Travis. I don't know if you're referring to me specifically, but that was
not specifically. You know, it did. I know that we had that conversation, but it's an ongoing problem with with I think up and coming. They want our advice for everything, and I think Pat will agree with me, and maybe even Richard. They want our advice for everything, but they've never read a goddamn thing we've done. You've decided we're an expert because of fucking money, right? That and though that is true. But what if I read Pat's stuff and I was like, dude, I don't vibe with this thing at all. And it's good. Like I even told Pat the other day, I was like, hey, I was reading this comic of yours. I don't understand it. Can you explain it to me? And I'm sure he was like, oh, let me explain it to you. But that also helps him go, oh, is other people not understanding it? I know Travis reads a lot of comic books. So I think that those things stuff. Do you feel the same way, Richard? Like people will be like, oh, give me my advice. Oh, I've never read your shit. Fuck you, man. Like read my shit. Like,
I mean, like, I think that because the shit I put out there is pretty specific. I don't think that
fair.
But then like every now and again, I'll get someone coming to me being like, "Hey, you want to do this?" Like, I'm not going to name any names, but someone came to me and was like, "I'm putting together this anthology, and it's like we're taking all these people's different IPs and having like a multiverse that we're building, and everyone can like jump between them." I was like, "All right, okay," and he was like, "So." He wanted to use Blastosaurus in one of the stories, and he was writing the central like linking thing that had all the characters. And throughout it, he just had Blastosaurus flying. I'm like, Blastosaurus is like a middle-aged man shaped like a Triceratops. Like it's not even a flying dinosaur. So like it's in those situations, it feels like offensively stupid.
Yeah.
But
where'd Chris go?
I don't know. I mean, like I back a lot of Kickstarters, and I don't have time to read fucking anything, So I have a huge pile of Kickstarters. Like yes, I don't read digital comics because I hate them. So I didn't read Decay until I actually got 1, 2, and 3, which were like waiting for me in my PO box down in LA. So I had to wait to go to there and all that sort of shit. But like. That means that I had 3 days in LA and a pile of like literally 200 comics that had arrived. I don't have time to read that. I got books to draw.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm very much the same way. And I genuinely do catch up though, I have a large pile. Travis will tell you, I read Travis's writing for the first time, I'd say mid last year with Granite State Punk, and I thought it was great. Charlie Stickney, he's my boy. I read White Action #1 early on, and I immediately recognized him as, this is my favorite Kickstarter project so far, and yet the game #1 was Kickstarted, I think, in 2018, and I read it last year. Like that's just that's how it is, But I do what I try to do is if there's a new creator or someone who I realize that I haven't seen how they do shit yet, I will then make sure to check out their project ahead of the other ones and kind of bump it in line so I can see their vibe, and see what they're bringing to the table. And there are instances where I don't like it, and there are other instances where I'll see a project from someone that I didn't think I was going to really enjoy, and then it'll really jump out as something that's quality to me, and it'll help me see that person differently.
Well, this is like the big part of it as well, is that like, our normal comic store pull lists, and I'm like, I know that it's old ground to tread of like Kickstarters cost more than regular comics do, and that's fine. We accept the reasons, but like the risk for me to have this giant pile of books from a comic store that I may or may not get around to reading, or if I read issue 1 and I have up to issue 5 and I decide it's like dump city garbage, it's no great loss. If I have up to issue 5 of someone's Kickstarter book, that is a huge loss, which is like actually why, like, Pat, I hadn't read any of your stuff, and we were like starting to get to know each other, just sliding into each other's DMs, those pics you were sending me, etc. And you had the Destiny Volume 6 campaign going. And so I went in there, like, I bought 1, 2, and 6 because I was like, well, I got to get the most recent one because I don't know how Kickstarter works well enough to not. But like, and I was like, I'm getting to know this person. So I read 1 issue of Destiny because I could put aside enough time to actually do that. Yeah. And it was nice. It was good. I was like, you're a good writer. I'm excited to read the rest of this. 1 fucking day.
Yeah, and it's it's the burden on collaborators is imbalanced. I can go to your profile, Richard, and I can see that you're sick with it with a glance. I can see your art immediately. and I can see your sense of storytelling in your art. So it's different. You know, it takes you more effort to learn if a writer can do it than it does a writer toward an artist. But I do want to say, Richard, you should be angry right now, man.
Okay.
You should be angry because during all these spaces, bro, everyone made it seem like you're old as shit. You're a spring chicken, bro. Like we look like to me we look the same, you know.
I'm only 2 years older than you. The reason I get called Comic Grandpa is because I published my first book when I was 7.
Yeah, so I guess
you didn't change your name. Who's Richard Fairgray? I don't know that guy. Richard, can you go on record and tell people that I listened to your advice and that you edited my first Intrusive Thoughts issue 1?
You know what? Fuck it. Yeah. Like, look, now that I've read Decay and I can see like how good you were even without me, I'm pretty fucking happy to have my name as editor on those books.
Hey, that's a W.
Listen, you talk about being real or fake. That was real fucking hurtful. That he just said that.
No, I hadn't read them. I like you. I didn't know you were good.
One mic.
I know that you have eye problems, but you couldn't see the sound effects. Like, is that so? Those sound effects in issue 1 didn't bother you at all, Richard? Come on.
Look,
he didn't say it was perfect.
I'm not saying they're perfect comics. Yeah, I'm saying that like you can pick up a comic. You can pick up and I'm not saying this about Decay, but like you can pick up a bad comic and tell if the writer is going to be a good writer at some point.
Yeah.
You can pick up a mediocre comic and tell if that writer is going nowhere. And like maybe that's just a thing you develop if you are a comic writer for 30 fucking years. But like, you know, you it's like Pat saying you develop an eye for art. You can develop an eye for spotting if a writer has it or not.
100%.
He's saying I got it.
Bro,
you know, when I was 18 years old, I did a summer school paper in creative writing to like basically finish my degree a year early. I had to just get some extra points in there, you know, and it was the most depressing course I ever took because we had to be there 4 days a week and go to a lecture where a prominent author of some kind would come in and like talk to us about their process, and then there'd be an hour-long Q&A session, which was the same 15 people every single day standing up and saying a version of, do you think you can become a good writer or do you have to be born with talent? And every writer would try and find a polite way of saying, well, you kind of have to have talent. Sorry. And there would be this collective sigh from the audience. And I don't know, like I don't want to say it's true. Like I think anyone can get better, but I also think that most people who want to be a writer kind of have to have some of it, right? Like no one would do this by choice.
That go into writing, right? Like you have to be curious about certain things. You have to be able to organize ideas. You have to be able to people watch. You have to really you have to be able to experience other cultures and through a lens and have perspective. Like to an extent that is about circumstance as well as talent. You know what I'm saying? There's so many different things that go into everything, every creative thing. So I would say that, like a person who is incurious, a person who doesn't care about other people's perspective is not going to be a good writer. Like maybe they can do a good autobiography, but they're going to be really limited in the type of stories that they can tell.
I think it's more than just, sorry to cut you off, Richard. I think it's more than like you need more than just that to be a good writer, right? You need to have that ability to like you can have all those things and still not be the best writer or a great writer. And it's the ability to choose exactly what we're seeing and what we're reading and what you're telling us. Like that choice is what makes a writer great, right? And like that perspective. And so Stephen King writes about this on writing. Like you can get anyone to like a certain level, right? Anybody can write well enough, but how good you can get. Like I think he ranks people out of 5, and like if you're at a 2, you can train to be a 3. But like some people can never reach that 5, right? You need to have that ability to discern and that unique perspective on things to really get to that next level. And is that innate talent or is that just like how you think about things and how you approach things? I guess that's up for somebody else to say. But there definitely is that ability. You just see it that somebody, like you're saying, is going to be a good writer. And it's the same thing with art. You can see like, okay, they're on the right path, right? You can sort of get that vibe just from what they're doing at that current moment.
It's sort of like you can look at like a filmmaker like James Cameron, who is a mechanically scientifically minded man who has broken down to such a minute level what it takes to tell a good visual story, whether you like his movies or not. You can see that he's a very competent storyteller, like quite a fantastic storyteller at certain moments. But he's doing it by looking at it and going, what technically makes this thing good? There are artists and you can look at who you can look at and you can see that they are doing the exact same thing. And that's not a worse way to get it. The end result is still a very good piece. At the same time, though, there is that particularly unique spark, and I don't know how to define it. I don't know. I'm sure there are neuroscientists out there who can put this better and figure out exactly what it is. But if you're a 2 and you can train to be a 3, that may be true. If you're a 3, you can train to be a 4. But if you're going to be a 5, you had to have always had that last little bit in you, right? Like, you can be a 2 who gets to a 5. Like, you learn to be a 4, and once you get to be a 4, you can reach up and grab that thing that makes you a 5.
Yeah, I agree.
So, Richard, we were talking about. I'm really curious about what your opinion of me was before you read the K issues 1 through 3. Since we're, you are my mentor. You have been for some time, but we can deal with that later. What are some of the pitfalls that you see from older creators, new creators, et cetera, et cetera? We've been talking for a while. We said, not doing updates. We said not reading books from Kickstarter. We said a bunch of stuff. Is there anything that
I've seen it?
So yeah, you have anything to add to that?
I would say that older creators need to get better at understanding. I guess like predicting the algorithm. I guess, and I'm not just talking about the links thing. Like Travis, you're a really good example. You and I are connected on Twitter, partly because you came up as a suggested person, and I confused you with a different Travis. As a result of that, you and I didn't really interact on Twitter very much. I back a lot of Kickstarters. I literally only found out you were on Kickstarter maybe like 2 months ago, because that's how much Twitter suppresses like everything that is going on. It's like, if I'm not talking about Kickstarter, I probably don't want to see Kickstarter. So Twitter says to me, okay, here's like, a bunch of dumb goofs and things that Richard will enjoy. And I think like that is a whole separate war that everyone has to be fighting all of the time against the robot machine. I'm sorry. Someone spent like 20 minutes today talking to me about Terminator 2, and now I feel like I should see it. Hence why I'm also thinking about James Cameron. So I'm thinking a lot about fighting machines. But it's that kind of like predicting the magic, and I'm in the same boat here. Like, I need to accept that there is a magical thing out there that doesn't make any logical sense to most humans, and I need to just accept that that's true and then work within it, like surfing on a tide of something, rather than just assuming that it'll kind of work. I say this as I'm also like, I sent out a newsletter today about people crying at sex clubs, because I think that'll help boost my audience numbers. So
let me know if that works. Did you have anything like, anybody else have any quick things to add about like the pitfalls, new creators, older creators?
Pitfalls. It's so individual, I mean, outside of the things I've pointed out about what people do wrong in crowdfunding sometimes, and what I personally don't like to see on social media, it's very individual. There are some creators though who I think they have a hard time seeing outside of themselves, right? They'll I was talking to a friend in comics today about how another friend in comics constantly shoots himself in the foot by posting out of pocket takes and then critiquing people who post out of pocket takes. It's like, bro, embrace it. You know, you're the guy. You know, you are the guy who you think you shouldn't be. And I think that a lot of people need to look in the mirror and come to terms with who they are and make it part of their persona and how they sell comics. Um, I think that all of us here do it great. I think that we all have strong personas. I think that we are all consistent. I think that we are all I think we're all good guys. Okay. I do. I do. And I think that
Hashtag five fun friends.
yeah. I think that having an interesting and attractive persona that's genuine to who you are and being engaging to watch, I think it's really helpful. We are in an era where people are sort of breaking out of the idea of, oh, what's my brand, and more following individual creators and wanting to, bond with people. This up and coming audience didn't grow up on TV, commercial break, TV. That they grew up on ingesting content directly from creators on YouTube. They have a relationship with the people with whom they consume content. So be more out there, express yourself more. Stokes, you recently made a post that was misinterpreted wildly, where you said that anything you create is seen kind of the same to you as a comic, whether it be a comic, a YouTube video, a tweet, right? I'm paraphrasing here, but
Well, whoa, oh, no. Okay, I know what I was saying. No. What I said was people have these like old ass ideas that a recent critic of mine said that basically because we're trying to put our personality out there and do different things, that's not comics. They're trying to define what comics is. To me, I couldn't sleep. I did like an audit of like, what's the most useful effect of my time? What is the least amount of effort that gets the most results? And number one was editing my Kickstarter page. And number two was engagement baiting on Twitter. It takes the least amount of time and it gets the most results.
Sure.
But some people look at that as bad, even though that's what we're on Twitter for. You're on Twitter to get engagement. Like let's be, if you're a creator, certainly.
Yes.
So for me, people are saying you're talking about you and not your comics. To me, it's the same shit. Richard has a great brand. Like where it's like, yeah, if you like somebody, that'll entice you to buy their comics. So if we get a video that go viral from here, or if we get a video with 100,000 views or even 1 million views, and then I get a 10K Kickstarter, I'm looking at the same way. Like these are both platforms, or these are both like I'm so fucking tired. These are things that are good. Like these are going to help build. I can build off these and leverage this for something bigger, right? So it's weird to me in the social media era, the content creator era, which is what we're all doing. That's what we're doing here. Creating a comic is content. It's weird for me that you'd be like, I don't want to be known for my or for my personality or my brand. I want to be known for my comics. Well, let me say, you can do that shit if you want. Don't impose that shit on me. Like I like that shit. From my perspective, that's extremely inefficient thing, especially because it's faster to make a tweet. It's cheaper. Making a comic is very labor intensive. It's very cost intensive. It's so expensive. It takes so much time, and it's for sure worth it. But putting out a tweet, nothing, making a YouTube video, like part of the reason why I like this is because it allows us to be creative, but with way cheaper and way less effort. And like I don't know why people are like obsessed with making things harder for themselves. I don't understand.
Yeah. So that's the post that I'm referencing here, and I think that the more comfortable that comics creators can get with visually appearing, creating content in which they appear, letting their voice be heard outside of these condensed, non-nuanced tweets, the more we can see an actual person emerge, the more you'll create a sense of empathy with not only the community, but with your readership. Readers want to connect to the creators who are creating what they love. That has been the case for a long time, and comics creators largely don't do that well. For a while, how is it that you search comics on YouTube and the comics community on YouTube, less now, but for a long time, was dominated by Comicsgate? That's crazy. That is a subset of comics creators. The fact that you can't just search YouTube comics commentary and just see general commentary, that's bad. We should have mainstream creators. It should be normal for them to have a podcast. It should be normal for them to have constant streams. It shouldn't be weird that a comics creator is using Twitter Spaces, using new media that is kind of not new anymore. It's the norm. You using this and utilizing it well and creating that sense of, this is me. This is who you're reading. Missing that is such an L to me. I don't really understand why you wouldn't want to do that. I've always been, and I've taken sabbaticals, because the fact of the matter is, it takes a lot to create this stuff sometimes. But I've always been of the mind that the more I put my face out there, the more that I define my journey as a creator, the less someone can take my journey from me and define it for me and put me into a box.
Do you think this, like for older creators, because this is certainly a thing that I've come up against, we have more of a fear of consequences for things we say, because we're not used to, we weren't raised, like Pat, Travis, like we weren't raised with social media in our lives most of the time. We could rework our live journal. We could edit these things. We weren't putting things out live to people. And like, I'm someone who has spent years feeling like I am, every time I have an interview, I have a tendency to overshare. I get comfortable talking to the interviewer, and then I tell some buck wild story from my life. And then I come away from it thinking, oh shit, I'm going to get in trouble because like I went outside the tone of what I should be talking about with whatever book. And it's like, I'll give you an example. The other day I was chatting with someone, and it was in DMs, and we were critiquing a certain other person for some shitty behavior that we had seen from them, or like some stuff that we thought was like kind of capitalizing on queer culture without actually embracing it. Sure. To be polite. And because here's the thing, because I still have to feel like I have to be polite. And we were talking about this, and then I saw someone else much younger just ripping into this person publicly on Twitter, not tagging them in it, but just openly talking about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I would never be able to do that. But it's like this fundamental difference where it's accepted that if you have shit to say to people or about people, you actually do say it, rather than hushed whispers and DMs.
Yes, that is new. That is sort of the conversation of the moment too. And it's rough because we are, I mean, the conversation around this entire topic is very difficult to navigate, because not only do you have to tread carefully with what you say, you have to tread carefully with saying you're treading carefully about what you say, right? Because the people will put these really politicized terms on things and say, oh, you're talking about cancel culture. And it's like, bro, we don't have to put these buzzwords on everything. The fact of the matter is that sometimes people will say things and word them poorly. And now those poorly worded sentiments are being broadcast to anybody who wants to see them. And they're sometimes being shoved into this little box on Twitter that we're like deleting words and just trying to fit the thought. And it is dangerous, and people are scared about it. And it takes an immense skill to be very vocal online and navigate this thing.
Or it takes an intense amount of not caring.
So sometimes, yes, 100% yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we appreciate those people that don't seem to care and just like are like Twitter antagonists, like Stokes before he reformed to being Stokes the Bottom.
There's the bottom.
He was
Somebody called me
goated on
trash
Twitter.
on Sunday. Somebody called me trash on Sunday, bro. Nah, it's still. I'll say something, bro. I mean, but Richard had a tweet. What is that tweet that got you in trouble? Where you asked like how many panels per page do you give your artist, and people
yeah.
moralized
Oh,
that.
I
bro,
said,
that was, yeah.
comic writers, how many panels do you prefer on a page? And like most people were very good-hearted about it and just said and gave reasons or whatever. A handful of people got really fucking spicy and messaged me directly to tell me that there was a right answer, and anything else was disrespectful to artists, which is absolutely buck wild nonsense. And I think like none of the people who were sending me this knew that I'm also an artist. And like my opinion is pretty strongly, I like 12 panels on a page because it means I'm not going to fucking get bored.
Yeah.
But it's also that like we were talking about YouTube being the comic stuff on YouTube for a long time being largely Comicsgate. It's because things can be edited down in comics and ripped apart for no reason. Like comics are a medium where you can take a single panel and post it in a video and talk about it. And without the context, you can make any piece of dialogue look like trash. You can make the intention of the writer look like trash.
Yes.
And that sucks. Like that is bad faith criticism.
You're right.
And it does no one any good, but like we see it all the time.
And I think what was interesting, it was that it was people, I think it was writers arguing basically on the behalf of artists.
Always.
And that I think that goes back. I wouldn't say fake humble, but that kind of goes back to being disingenuous in my opinion. And it just shows a lack of understanding because more panels doesn't necessarily mean more labor. Like if anything, I would think if like the example I use, if I give you 28 if I gave you 28 splash pages, that sounds like a really hard book to make. That sounds like a pain in the ass. You know what I'm saying? And anything, if a smaller panels, it should be a variety. But that just shows you people will moralize everything. And people will also try to appear. It's like we're having what does George say? What did George say that one time? A small dick measuring contest. Mm-hmm. It's like people are trying to have a nice guy contest, but not in a way that's like genuine or really helpful. It's just I'm trying to appear the best on this thread or what have you, because it doesn't logically make sense to get mad at somebody for asking how many panels per page do you have. It's not even like Richard said 5 panels per page is optimal. It's not even like he made a statement. He asked a question, and so much of the vitriol online comes from asking questions. It's like how I'm not even putting a thought into the atmosphere. I'm literally asking you a question, or I'm asking the timeline a question, and it's stuff like that. As far as like why I don't think you should. Yeah, I don't think people should care about. If you sit here and try to, it's why I don't like worry about like ruffling feathers. It's like you're gonna ruffle feathers regardless. Like it's going to happen, bro. People don't like other people. Like people aren't going to like you. I've never understood this idea of like you don't try to make everybody like I don't want people to like me. I want to be loved, and then if the process. Some people hate me. That's just a part of the process. But the goal, like Travis talked about, the goal should be to get like 300 people that like really fuck with you, that will do anything for you. That's the goal. You know what I'm saying? And it's like what is being like somebody liking you? What does that really do for you? But somebody loves you, they're gonna like be supportive. They're gonna back your campaigns. They're gonna read your comics, all that stuff. So yeah, the whole thing of like you can be controversial without trying. So I don't even get avoided.
Well, when I come at somebody, and I've done it to you, is when someone's too controversial and I think that they could divide a community. That's where I get scared because I care about the community. So I'll shut that shit down in a minute because that's what I care about. Like that's my job. I police the community too. Not that anybody's assigned me to do so, like, but I've taken upon myself. So I'm very protective. I'm the one who will go up against the Comicsgate guys on the regular because I'm not afraid. They can't do anything to me. I've used their artists and they were shitty every time. It turned out that all the shit about them was true every time. I never meant to use Comicsgate for the record. It just accidentally happened each time. But I believe that when you're doing comics, that the more we can be for each other and not start little feuds, the better we're going to look, because we're trying to get buyers. And buyers, if they're buying for a feud, they're not buying for your art. And I want you to be art, especially someone like you, Stokes. Like, you're fucking talented. I've told you that.
Not according to Richard for like last week.
I said I liked you. I didn't know if your comics, I didn't know if Decay was good. I hadn't read it.
I'm sorry,
but I think you've got some chops there. I think you need some work, but it's your first book, man. Like, it's gonna happen. Like, you're learning, you're trying to figure it out. I hate that, and some of this is my hurt, right? Like, I am a really good salesman. Like, that's what I've done my majority of my life. I can sell shit to anybody. I struggle with that in my comics sometimes. I know I need it. It's a necessary evil, but I want you to just like my shit. Like, I want you to think it's good, like, because it's good, not because I convinced you that it was good, or you like me, or you like that I yelled at Stokes yesterday. Like, I don't want that. I want it because of the content's good. So when I see that, and I see someone who uses the controversy, you know, that's what I feel a lot of the comics hate community does, is they use this hate that they have, and that they feel that the other people who are making comics have against them, and they use it to fuel their brand instead of just making good content, right? Like, let's make good content and then see where the shit lands, right?
Let me address that. Because like I said, we just talked about it. The controversial can be anything. I said marketing is a combo making skill. Motherfucker just jumped down my goddamn throat. So it's like, even being controversial. And like I said, if that's what you want, that's fine. Like I said, if you're buying the comic, that's all that matters to me. Would I like a grassroots people that only buy my comic? Yes, but I came into the space and I recognized that, let's be honest, I don't think most creators would consider themselves successful, and I think that's unfortunate, because like I said, I think if you make a comic book, you're successful. You know, like, generally, I think that's an amazing thing. But a lot of people don't feel successful. So I'm looking at this and like, sure, I can go to a con for 3 years. I can sit here and like, you know, like, ask people to do this or that. But like, to me, it was just like, I'm just gonna give my comic book away. I'm just gonna be myself. As far as policing and as far as controversial or what have you, the problem I have with a lot of this stuff, and the problem I have that mentality is like, because this is a conversation we've had before. It's like, oh, just make comics. It's like I said, making comics is expensive and it's time consuming. Twitter is easy. Twitter is it's the fastest thing in the world to tweet back. And my problem with the community and truthfully, specifically you, Travis, is that you are looking at people that are being like, you're not looking at the aggressor, because we're, let's be honest, we're referring to the Larry stream, we're referring to some of the stuff. I was not the aggressor in that situation. Bro came at me. Bro harassed me. I can show you the screenshots. Bro literally sent me.
For the record, I wasn't referring to that.
Okay, well, that's what I was thinking of.
Okay.
So I get 12 messages from bro.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm just really at a certain point, I'm defending myself, and like I understand not liking the EFAP or whatever. That's totally fine. Yeah. But it's not me. It's not me starting beef. It's not me trying to start feuds. It's this other person is attacking me, and right. And that's what it is with a lot of stuff. I'm going to tell you this. I've been through a lot in life. I've been homeless. I've been through all kinds of fucked up situations. Nobody's going to talk to me however they want. I don't give a fuck. If I respond to somebody like a stupid comment, I felt like I needed to. People are talking to me insane, and that's what happened. That's what it is. And I'm sorry if that's bad. That's bad for the community, but the problem isn't with the people that are responding or defending themselves. The problem is with the people that are initially talking shitty, bullying creators, gatekeeping, all that stuff. So like, for me to be the lightning rod for this, I want to say vitriol, but for this attention, for being a problem starter or being beef, that's not true. And you've been aware of a situation where I try to de-escalate several times. Sure. And being part of being about community, you know, we met through a space. There's a whole, I care about community too, but my like, if I feel like somebody disrespects me, that's something I might have to work on. But like, I'm independent. Like, I had to have compromises in my personal life. in my professional life, all this stuff. I'm not compromising here, bro. You're not going to talk to me crazy. A motherfucker with a Spider-Man avatar is not going to call me a bitch. And then just that's just it. That's just the end. I mean, it might be sometimes, but
does it matter what Spider-Man? Like, if it's Miles, are you a little bit
Miles is cool? If Miles is cool, but yeah, like y'all don't see all these notifications. People are talking to me crazy. Somebody called me trash the other day. I'm responding to like 1 of 4 or 5 of these crazy comments that I get on a daily basis. So if we're policing, let's not look at the person who retaliates. Let's look at the initial people, because I don't like feuds. But the reality is that these other parties are making me look bad. Right. We know that.
They want to.
That was an expressed, huh? Good.
I said, but they want to. That's what people are trying to do on the platform. I mean, this stream was considered racist by somebody.
Yeah, that was insane. But that's what I'm talking about. This is great. We
right,
that out.
But again, all it would have taken is us to not be fast and get that shut down, and then people would have been on sides of a war that didn't exist, right?
Yeah,
wait, this stream was racist?
Yes. Someone.
Let's not even get into it. Let me.
That tweet that was deleted.
Yes.
What a fucking idiot.
But I think you should get into it, because that's what I'm talking about when I police stuff. When I see something that's going to be out of control, that's going to lead to like hostile, like non-sales on your Kickstarter because people are fighting, that's when I tend to get involved. Or my boys. I admit sometimes I got my back of my boys. That happens.
Yeah, because I feel like that. Again, I think that it can apply to different situations or whatever. But yeah, like essentially what was happening is really 2 individuals were using their platforms to make me look stupid. That's what, or make me look arrogant and stupid, which was an expressed goal for both of these people. And you know who I'm referring to. So, I don't feel like part of it is just me defending myself. Like part of it is just me being like, fuck it. If you're gonna make me look stupid, if it's a stupid contest, I'm coming in first. Like I'm gonna be like, yo, nah, these motherfuckers out here, and I can't address them directly because that's drama. I can't address it directly as beef. Motherfuckers call me a gangster. I can't be like, I don't think you would say this to my face. Truthfully, I don't think you would say this to my face. I can't even say that. And they already prefaced it by calling me a gangster. And so part of it was just like, nah, I mean, if you're going to try to make me look stupid, I'm going to try to win my audience over. I'm trying to leverage that. But that's not my fault. I didn't start that. That was not a thing that I started. You know who started that. So that I think that's important again.
Right, but again, using it to leverage, all that doing is splitting the community, because there's only a finite amount of backers who back Kickstarter on the regular basis. I think Larry's a piece of shit. He's a garbage human being. I hate everything about him. But that doesn't mean he doesn't have backers, right? That could like your shit.
But whose fault is that then? Is it my fault, or is it Larry for DM me 12
No,
times?
it's when it continues. I don't care about it happening. Like, throw your shots real quick, but then it becomes this bullshit, this war. Like, we got to bring it up. We got to shadow box it a little bit. We got to talk about it. We just got to be better. And there's a way to handle that where you're like, you're a mother effer. Here's my thing. You're blocked on everything. I'm moving on.
And that's essentially what happened. We made a stream. We did one stream. I told you we don't plan on addressing. We really didn't plan on addressing it again. I'm not trying to dominate, but I do think this is a thing that people need to be aware of. And then everybody wants to be like, oh, look at all the feuds. But it's like, yo, why don't we call out the people that are being the instigators? It just doesn't make sense to me. And again, nobody is going to disrespect me. Nobody. I don't care. I do not give a shit. I did not come in this community to be disrespected and talked down to like anybody really. Like I shouldn't have to tolerate that. And then blocking somebody doesn't necessarily work. You can block somebody and they can keep talking bad about you. They can keep doing this or that. So I'm supporting stand your ground. Like I said, I think that's just fair. Me personally, I don't know how y'all feel about it.
I mean, we could also disagree on what is like a negative thing for the comics community at large. We could disagree with how each other handles certain things. That doesn't mean that we hate one another or anything. You know, I think that I tend to, in this situation, I think that because of the softness in the overall comics community, I think that Stokes is often misinterpreted as well. And I don't think that it's bad that he engages and responds to those misinterpretations and has fun with them. We were talking before about like how we can't have everyone like us. The fact of the matter is, like, as brazen as I am when I post on social, and I really am that way. That is me. I still want everyone to fucking love me. You know, I still want to be liked. When people think negative things about me, it doesn't feel good, you know? And I feel that I've personally been misinterpreted, and that I've been put in the box for a large portion of my career. So I empathize with the idea of Stokes being very brazen in how he rips himself out of the box that people put him into when he finds that the box is ill-fitting. And I like it. And I think that in time, I think that things are changing in the comics industry. I think that hopefully the idea of someone, say someone coming into Richard's thread about pounds per page, I think that we'll probably get to a place where like we see that kind of conversation where it's just they moralize it and they bring this kind of angry energy to it. They'll probably see that dissipate. We'll probably see Stokes. I think in time, as people see who you are as a creator, I think we'll see you misinterpret it less. And I just tend to think over time, history arcs toward a more positive and progressive way. So I think that we are in a sort of divisive stage, not in comics, in culture, right? And I think that we'll break our way out of that, and I think everyone and everything is going to be all right.
Damn, Mr. Patchand, poetic.
I said a lot, so I want Travis to be able to respond.
No, you're good. I don't dislike you, nor do I disagree. I disagree with you what you did, but I said my point. Like, it doesn't change how I feel about your stuff. Your first stream was talking about how you're a bottom with a fake apology. Number 2 was yelling at a dude. Like, when are we going to talk about comics? You know what I'm saying?
Talk about the comics
the comic bros haven't got to it yet. Like,
Chris, didn't I tell you these comments were coming? Didn't I tell you these comments were coming? Look, bro, let's be honest again. It's like, you know what? I'm not gonna get into that. But the reality is I'll talk about comics on my Twitter. We talk about it. But
sure. And we talked about comics tonight.
We talked about comics tonight. We talked about comics. We talked about comics in the Larry stream. We talked about comics in the every stream we've had. We talked about comics. But I'm a conversationalist. Like, and nothing is more annoying to me than when we're like in a space, we're having a conversation and somebody says, "Hey, let's get back to comics." I'm like, "Yo, sure." The problem is not all of us are reading the same comics. Not all of us are reading the same indie comics. Even I read Destiny New York in December. Richard read it, I think, after that. I've been talking to Pat. I know Pat for like 9 months. I haven't read Saturn Effect from Chris. So we don't even have that mutual, like, we don't even have a new. George is reading like Marvel, like George is more of a superhero fan. There's no level. I mean, you want to talk about Watchmen? You know, you want to talk about Sandman? It's like, it doesn't, it's not even the base level, base knowledge sometimes. And that's why it's so hard to talk about comics, because everybody's reading different shit. Richard doesn't like digital comics. I prefer digital comics. I don't want like 50 comic books. I empathize. I don't want 50 comic books. Some people like web comics. It's just such a malleable. Some people like manga. It's just such a malleable thing, and because it's so malleable, it's also hard to, like, if Avatar, we can have a panel about Avatar, we can talk about that, because that's like a $2 billion grossing movie. But I read The Human Target number 10. You want to talk about that? Everybody, who's read that? Raise your hand.
I have, but you're taking comic books. I'm talking about just your process. Like, I loved, even though I adamantly disagree with it, the reason why you don't like page turns, why you think it's not important to you. I think that shows off, even though I think you're ridiculous when you say it. It shows that I have an opinion that I thought out. I didn't just decide that I have a war on page turns. I feel I have a natural gifting that allows me to tell a storytelling that naturally puts that in. So I don't need it, because that's basically your statement when we talked about it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Essentially.
those things are beautiful, man, and that those are things that I want to hear from up and coming creators, man. These are the things that inspired me. These are the way I process. I love listening to you, even though I hardly disagree with you. Quentin Tarantino is all the same voice. Well, that's not true. Let's talk about it. Knives Out, like going into detail, like you clearly care and love storytelling. Like that
Absolutely.
is your gift. When I talk, let's talk about comics. That's what I'm talking about. Let's talk about comics and how we have the art of storytelling. I love Chris. The last time I heard a scream, Chris is like, dude, you don't even know how many shit I write. So you need to chill. Like I am writing so much shit. Like that scares me out. A stream I was listening and Chris was talking about how many things he's writing right now.
Like, oh yeah, that motherfucker working.
How hard of a worker he is. That's what I want to hear because that inspires me. Like work at I'm gonna back every one of Chris's book. I won't back like I saw it. That didn't vibe with me. I didn't like the art, the things didn't vibe with me. I don't like sci-fi, whatever.
Back to K though. Back to K though.
But and I didn't like the art on that either. But let's talk.
Hey, let's pull up Travis's first comic book. See what the art was.
Yeah, no, that art's bad too. But what wins me over is just hearing Chris like this love for storytelling. Dude, you love storytelling. You are in this fucking shit with me. Like you're my boy. Let's go. Like you don't even have to prove yourself. You didn't even know I was watching that screen. But now you're my boy because we're on the same level. Versus this dude who's like, I haven't read a comic in since 1996 because comics are shit. And I decided yesterday that I'm going to start a comic and I'm going to make it just like back in the day. Tons of pouches, Rob Liefeld, motherfucker. Like there is comic people who are like that on the record who don't have a care of the craft, who's not doing the work, not listening to fans' feedback. So those are the people who I vibe with. And that's why I vibe even with Stokes, even though we disagree. I vibe with the atmosphere. Like he gives a shit about the craft. Same thing with Pat. Why Pat and I vibe. We give a shit about the craft. There's tons of creators who can give two fucking shits about the craft. And that's what pisses me off when I'm on a fucking show and they're like, so tell me about your book. And we go through the book and I find out they're not reading comics. They're just fucking talking about comics to try to use you. And hopefully you're going to get them more views. Fuck that. I want to talk about the art of creating this beautiful thing, this beautiful medium that I love. Like, and even the other day, I said something to Stokes. I was like, and you want to create comics, you want to get to the level. Stokes like, that's not my goal. I was like, oh shit. All right, let's find out about that. So when I say let's talk comics, that's what I'm talking about.
And that's 100%. That's 100% fine. But me doing a stream about somebody calling me out is not preventing me from talking about comics. Frankly, like that's the only thing is like. It doesn't have to be a either or, and to me it is very dismissive. And no, I definitely think there's a mutual respect, Travis. I think there's just a disconnect like between the words. I'll say something and you interpret it, or it comes out wrong. You say something to me, it comes out wrong. But I do you're here because I have respect for you. I do have respect for you, and mostly our talks are respectful, but. The last thing I want to hear when I'm being shitted on and I'm responding is like, let's focus on comics. It's like, what do you? Right. I'm a writer. What do you mean? I am like, bro. I checked my email. I got the pages. They look good. the fuck else can we do? Like really, and that's why I talk about I will get better at making comics. It's not because I'm sitting there writing comics all day. I'm doing this. Right. I'm doing the space. I'm reading comics. I'm watching a comic movie and stuff like that. So like, it's not even. That I think we have the same philosophy. It's not even that I disagree. I just think it's like the framing of certain arguments, because frankly, that what that sounds like? That sounds like it's time for a nap. That's what that sounds like to me. Like, all right, kiddies,
let's go for a nap.
Let's go for a nap. Essentially, that's what it sounds like. And again, like it's just my mentions are fucking crazy right now. My mentions are crazy, people. And also the problem I have with you mentioned that when you kind of address certain things, you like the vague posts. I think that has a negative connotation to it, but you like to kind of be like but like you just like you put out a tweet or what have you, to be like there's something I'm seeing that I'm not liking. It could be about one person, it could be about 20 people. Sure. That's a different thing than, and the problem I have with a lot of the discourse on Twitter And also part of the reason why I vague post is because, and we talked about this. If you say creators with long hair with dreads with blonde tips who write supernatural comic books are assholes, and I say, Travis, no, you're an asshole. I'm the asshole because you have framed me in a way that essentially it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And it's not, it's a lot of people doing that. And I think it's very unfortunate because it paints me in a corner where, again, what is my other response? I can take that on the chin or I can fake post, you know? And so I guess I'm just kind of verbalizing my frustrations with the discourse in the community. And like I said, kind of like the goings on, you know what I'm saying? And then of course, also what people don't realize is that like you're going to see the post that gets the engagement. Sure. You're not going to see the tweet that was like, oh, I just read Human Target number 10, that shit gets 10 likes. You're not going to see that. You're going to get the whole like, is marketing a comic book making skill? You're going to see that tweet because people are commenting on it. And then vis-a-vis, you think all Stokes does is rile people up, which is not, it's just not the case. We do all kinds of community, but this is community building. We met at Twitter Space. We have a Discord. So I guess that's just something. I'm just voicing my frustrations at this point.
I want to respond to that Armin post so bad.
Self-fulfilling prophecy. I don't like the you don't have to like.
Here's the thing though. I look at Decay and I look at someone who understands marketing on how to market a cover to make them look like they're going to line up and look great on a fucking shelf. That's one of the things that I haven't seen a rookie creator been able to pull off.
Yeah. And I think one thing like
there's a branding to your book.
Yeah, no, the older one thing I'd say about the older, I think in general, like just across the board, but just underestimating people. I underestimated Pat when I saw him in doing the Thirsty. I was like, this motherfucker just making sex books whack.
That was my first one.
Not knowing, well, yeah, but I'm saying I was stupid. Like I didn't know what I was talking about.
Second, don't say that. Cheeky.
Cheeky was the first one.
Cheeky was number 2.
Oh, okay.
See, I was right. Thirsty. No, but I'm sitting here like, this motherfucker just making, not knowing that these books are incredibly well made. I picked up Thirsty at Baltimore Comic Con. I was like, this is an incredibly well made book. This is an incredible book. It's like underestimate. I feel like you commented that you underestimated me. I underestimate creators all the time, and I think just like doing just kind of like before you assume somebody's you did something earlier, Travis, where you were talking about our campaigns and you were like, I don't know, I'm just guessing here, and then you kind of went through, and in the part because I'll get annoyed when it's like you didn't think I considered this super easy thing. Like you didn't think I thought about this super obvious thing. Sometimes it doesn't work out like that. But by asking or just prefacing what you were saying by saying, I don't know. This is just what I'm guessing based off what I'm seeing, blah, blah, blah. That slight tweak tells me that you respect me and Chris's intellect that much more. Just the framing of that sentence versus here's what you were thinking versus here's what I think you were thinking. It's a slight pivot, but it makes a world of difference.
I have a question here.
Yeah. Go ahead, Pat.
We're talking about how the art on our first projects aren't good. The art on my first project wasn't good at all. You know, I had no eye. But we have
I really wanted you to say it was awesome.
Pocket Watch Press in the comments says art on my first joint is banging. And I just want to say, bro, drop a link and let's see, you know?
Nah, that'd be crazy. That's another thing is people judge me off a comic book I wrote 2 years ago. Shit is crazy. Like Decay wasn't that good. Decay issue 1 wasn't that good. It's like, the fuck? Intrusive Thoughts issue 1, asshole. Do you guys have anything else to say on the topic?
No, I think we're good.
Yeah, like I said, it's very rare that I agree with everybody. But like I said, overestimates me a lot of times.
Armin is wild.
I overestimate you? Yeah, you're pretty mid. You're pretty mid, bro.
Armin's a good guy. Armin, he came to the party dressed to the fucking nines. I couldn't believe it.
Well,
really? What do you wear?
I'll post pictures later. What?
His name's Armin. Isn't like that a suit thing?
Yeah, Armani. Yeah, I mean he pretty much was wearing that. I I was second best dressed, but I got to give it to Armin.
Were you wearing the same shirt as that he pointed out last time, Passion?
This time, no. I was wearing a beautiful cat focused button up, and Armin had a suit jacket on. I believe a beautiful blue. He had the nice patterned dress shirt. It was great. I have some good moments on video. I'm making a vlog out of this. It was supposed to be up today, but today's kind of gone off the rails as far as my plans. It's coming though.
The vlog. I saw Twan. I saw Tron. I said Tron. God damn.
Tron.
I said, God, no. Is it? What is it?
Twan.
Yo, what's up, Richard?
Hey,
Back.
sorry, dinner happened.
Did you have a comment on anything that was said? Did you want to add anything else?
No, I mean there was something, but I've forgotten what it was.
You forgot what it was. It's busy eating dinner.
Dinner's happening for me soon too.
What you having?
Wingstop.
Hey, the stop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you a bone-in guy or boneless guy?
Hey, I like both. You know, tonight I'm going full bone in all the way. But I do like both. You know, they both serve different purposes.
Flats or
Like
drums.
sometimes you want to feel sad, so you have boneless.
Exactly.
It's like sometimes I want a bone inside me.
Yeah, I'll take a boneless and pop a blue chew and see what happens next. You know.
I heard.
Hey yo.
I heard the best joke today about chicken. It was once you're done with the thighs and the breasts, you just throw it into a greasy box.
Oh my God, dude! Ew.
You throw the bone in the greasy box. I was like, oh damn.
My uncle told me that when I was like 8.
Was it funny then? Because I thought it was funny now.
Damn old guard jokes.
Maybe it's like wine. It ages well.
My family don't have like a good track record with like what jokes to tell at any point. My mother gets drunk once a year, always on Christmas. She gets drunk and does a jigsaw puzzle and remembers her favorite joke, which is, what did Cinderella say when she got to the ball?
Oh, you did that way too. That's the first time I've heard that done convincing. That's the first time I was like, yo.
He's been faking that noise for a long time.
Yeah.
Listen, sometimes you're with a man with a tiny dick and you have to make him feel good.
All right. Well, on that note, everybody, let's start to wrap it up and let everybody promote what they've got going on. Let's start with Travis. Thanks. You were our first guest on the show today, so
okay.
Gracious.
Yeah. So the best thing for me is you can. I'm not going to give you the Diamond Coach because you're not going to remember them. But if you go to any of my Facebook or Twitter at the top, I have 3 books coming out in the next 3 months. So Coins of Judas 1 and 2 from Band of Bards are coming out in January and February, the end of January and end February. So try to get that from your local comic shop. And then Granted State Punk. Granted State Punk is probably my favorite book that I do. It's really, really important to me. That's coming out in March. It's in previews right now. It's a great book, doing really, really good. So make sure you pick it up.
Awesome. And Richard, I know you have a project coming up.
Yeah, if you go to kickrichard.com, that's the pre-launch page, or that'll always be the page for everything I'm always doing from now on, basically. But kickrichard.com, and you can sign up for the pre-launch for my memoir, Octopus, which is all about sex clubs and drinking and toxic relationships and me trying not to turn into an octopus.
Awesome.
And Mr. Pat Shand, what do you have coming up?
I'm pulling this up right now. I'm going to present. I'm going to share screen. Boom. Share screen window. Boom. Here we go. See it? There we go. This is
holy shit.
Cerulean Dreams #1 one-shot comic by Pat Shand and Friends. This is a full color first single issue on Kickstarter ever. This is launching January 17th, and I just want to flex here. Haven't posted it on Twitter yet. I have to tweet out that this is happening. It's coming on the heels of Smoke We See the Future Volume 2. It includes a full color story of that title in here as well. It includes a Destiny New York story, and Afterglow, which I kickstarted back in 2018, I believe, is going to return with a brand new character in this post-apocalyptic world. it's going to be great. It's going to be fun. The URL is tinyurl.com/cerulean I am going to go full out and do metal covers, virgin covers, bunch of variants for the single issue, and it's going to ship very soon. We are almost all done. The artists on it are incredible. We have John McGinnis. We have Carl Moline, who is the artist of Frey. And we have Ariel Medel, who works for Dynamite a lot. And we are just producing a fantastic comic. Go back it. As soon as we go live, hit the notify me on launch. If you don't do it, may you have horrible karma.
Damn.
Yeah.
I like that you were like, I'm doing a single issue, and they were like, it's got these 4,000 things in it. I was about to call you a sellout for leaving the books behind, but that sounds amazing.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, the main draw here is that I want to start every year with an annual where you can sort of sample the worlds of what's to come that year. So Destiny New York Volume 6, Smoke We See the Future 2, and a plushie campaign for Afterglow. Those will all ship this year. But before they ship, you can enjoy finding those worlds with these short stories full color in this. And then every year in January, I'll launch a new one-shot annual where you can kind of sample the worlds of what's to come.
Very cool. All right, Stokes, what do you have for us, bud?
First off, I think this should keep going because I'm having a fantastic time. I think this is potentially our best stream, but part of the collaboration. I'm tossing aside my ego because my co-host wants to go to bed. Baby's tired. I have Intrusive Thoughts coming out. It's a great comic book illustrated by DNS. It's about loneliness, abandonment, anxiety, depression. It's going to be 28 full pages. It's going to be gas. You know what I'm saying? It got two blurbs from Pat, Shane, and Richard on here. So our esteemed guest liked it quite a bit.
Very nice. And I have Control Z numbers 1 and 2 available right now on Kickstarter. So make sure you head to the link that I'm posting in the chat right now. Watch the trailer, grab a variant, grab 2, grab 3, grab an original page. We're going for 5 figs, baby. It's 5-figure Moses time. It's 5-figure Moses time, baby. And thank you, Super Comic Books fam, everybody that decided to watch our 3-hour stream. Yeah, I mean, 3 hours, Stokes. I think 3 hours is where we're gonna have to even when we're popping, because you can't have too much of a good thing, you gotta leave the people wanting more.
Well, we can talk afterwards too, and I'll eat my food on camera, but
I want the watch hours. Goddamn, I want to make some money.
I'm not
We'll
gonna
get
monetize.
We got 8 people watching. We need.
Can we take like 2 or 3 hours to do a deep dive into or pitch the forgotten Bible story of Moses and the 5 figs, which I think has just been pitched to us?
Nobody bail him out. Nobody. Fuck. Every time, bro.
Damn.
Listen, Stokes, I'm trying to get you the watch hours.
Damn.
Not like this.
not
not like this.
Not like this.
I think this is L hosting personally. We got 8 people watching right now. I'm sorry to those 8 people. Chris doesn't love you.
I'm hungry.
I love it.
It's W hosting. We have a bunch of guests on, and thank you all for joining us. Richard, late addition. Travis, I know you were a little hesitant to come on, but we appreciate you anyway, man. And Pat, you are Mr. Six Figs. You're always welcome here. So if anybody has any closing remarks, no, yes.
Why can't I be called 5 figs? High 5 figs. Like
high 5 figs.
High 5 figs. That's good.
What was it? You're like tier 5, whatever.
I'm a tier 5.
Tier
Pat
5
is tier 6.
Tier 5 Gib.
Tier 5 Gib. Tier
but
5
you guys are
Thrasher.
like 2s and 3s. So I mean, I'm not trying to. We're leveling up on the stats.
This is feeling very X3 at this point.
What?
Old guy
old
reference.
thing?
Yeah, old guy reference.
The film. There's a comic called X-Men, and they had some films based on them.
That shit sound old to me.
Sounds mid to me. X3. No, X3 is trash, but that's for another video. Super Comic Books fan.
Let's keep it going, Chris. Let's get the watch hours. Keep it
going. We'll be back maybe later this week. And all right, everybody.
Once you hit end stream, please